Hello, everybody. My name is Phil, and I run the channel Podfinder, and this is my friend Jake.
Hi.
Jake and I have been messing around for 45 minutes because we scheduled a call, then we got to chatting. Uh,
We're nerds with a passion. What are you asking for?
neither one of us could keep ourselves on track, so we are finally getting down to the next topic of discussion.
Oh, I'll send you the
Between
link for the books I was talking about after we're done
Yes,
with this.
yes, please do. I've been inspiring Jake's latest arts and crafts project, but we'll leave that for a future video.
Yeah.
But welcome everybody to another wisdom check and pod finder discussion. This one, it better not be 8 hours because if it is, we are talking way more about slides. Because I do not have 119 slides this time. This time I have like 14. Uh,
I know he's
so
cutting back. He's
yeah,
trying to
yeah, I'm really trying
trying
to
to
cut
quit the
back this
habit.
time. So yeah. So today we will be discussing the concept of magic in Pathfinder, and specifically the lore surrounding how magic works and how it like manifests within the world. Um, One thing to note, there is a new book coming out later this year called Impossible Magic. It looks like, yeah, and we're both very excited for it. Uh, um, I'm very excited for the Runesmith. Necromancer looks kind of interesting. I'm also very excited for the remastered Summoner and Magus as
Yes.
well. Yeah, super excited for all that. But there might be some minor changes. I guess major changes are possible, but I'm guessing there's just going to be a little more clarification and stuff about magic. Secrets of Magic kind of laid out a pretty solid groundwork, but I'm guessing there will be more expansion into what we're talking about in the next couple months, especially with the abolition of the traditional 8 spell schools. So I won't be covering, or we won't be covering the spell schools here today, but there's a lot more to cover about magical traditions on Galarian. As far as our histories with like magic and stuff go, all my stuff is just Pathfinder. I'm a Pathfinder nerd, as anyone who is familiar with these collabs can probably determine already. So I have very little knowledge of like occultism or magical or alchemical practices in history outside of the context of Pathfinder. But Jake, that is partly why you are here because
Right.
you're gonna bring a lot more to the table.
Right. I have practiced chaos magic. I have been a pagan for over 20 years. I have been a druid, member of Arnorak Fane and Obod, Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. I've attended witch school. I have my one of the lower degrees going into being a high priest. I just didn't want to finish the classwork, but I have explored a
That's
lot
relatable.
about paganism and magic. Yes, it really is. Um, so, in fact, one of my college courses I took was magic, witchcraft, and healing. So I've studied magic and philosophy for a long time. So I'm going to have questions, but also suggestions, and there are going to be a lot of suggestions that GMs can make use of. But some of what Pathfinder 2 does is very linear. So I'm not going to be able to say, all right, well, if you want to be a chaos magician, just take this class because it doesn't exist. But we can talk about how you can modify stuff or what things mean or how you can translate them to your game.
And there are also some alternative magic systems, like true naming and stuff like that, that the game does present. They're just not super detailed, but we might get more details in future books. So, hopefully, if you find some of that stuff interesting, there might be some stuff on Pathfinder Infinite too, because that is a tremendously useful resource for everybody.
It totally is. And I'm surprised how many books on there are free or pay what you want.
Hmm.
Really good quality stuff.
Yes. Yep. Everyone knows about the Team Plus stuff, but there is a lot more out there. If you have a particular vision, there's definitely something that will fit your vision of your character.
And if you're interested in some of those weird things I've been led to, a specific creator that I'll put some links for in at least my description, and Phil, I can send them to you too,
Hmm.
just so people have access to it if they want to see it. There's uh, new options for classes that exist and a ton of archetypes.
Love new archetypes.
Yeah.
Always
Who
fun.
doesn't? That's great about this game. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's one of the best things about the entire game is the archetypes.
When
But
5e said we're not going to do prestige classes, I'm like, why?
why not? Yeah.
What?
But to get us back on track, one of the other best things about this game is the magic. And Pathfinder's magic, if my next slide thing will work appropriately. There we go. That's better. Pathfinder's magic falls into, well, first we need to answer the question, what is magic within the context of Pathfinder? So, within the context of Pathfinder, magic is kind of a very broad term that can describe many different things. The most specific thing you will hear about is spellcasting, because that is the way that players will interact with magic in the most frequent way, especially if you are playing, obviously, a spellcasting class. And that's kind of what we want to talk about, or what I kind of centered these slides around, I should say, today. Spellcasting is intended to be kind of the focus of this discussion because spellcasting is the most bounded form of magic that Paizo has explored. Spellcasting is very specific in what it can do. It is the most balanced. There are edge cases where spells need to be errata or something, but generally speaking, the spellcasting is the most balanced. It is the most very tightly described and limited in terms of what it can do. And then all spellcasting in Pathfinder is done through kind of this broader framework of the four magical traditions. So within the context of Pathfinder, there are four ways that you can cast spells. You can be an arcane spellcaster, you can be a divine spellcaster, you can be an occult spellcaster, or you can be a primal caster. If you are casting spells, short of options that don't exist in the game yet, if you are casting spells within the context of Pathfinder, you are casting spells from one of those four spellcasting traditions.
I want
And
to add something to that real quick. Even if
yes,
you're
yep.
using abilities that seem like spells, you're still using these four traditions, like the Aftermath feats and the Deviant feats, exemplar abilities. They still have the tags for these traditions.
Hmm. Yep, exactly. Pathfinder does a really good job of really grounding things that are really clearly described as magical within these four traditions. Now, the further away from spellcasting you get, the more kind of loosey-goosey they get with the rules of how these work. The next kind of most obvious thing after spellcasting is rituals. Rit
Rituals!
Rituals are great. Uh, but I think we will both. The first thing I would say about rituals is that they have way more flexibility than spellcasting. You can do a lot more with rituals by design.
Especially if
Um,
you bribe your GM.
yes, snacks. They are key. Bring snacks and tasty drinks to your table. It will do miracles for your character's survivability. But rituals are less balanced overall. Broadly speaking, they give the players a lot access to a lot more power. They also give them access to a lot more flexibility. The other cool thing about rituals is they kind of built this flexibility into the system because most rituals are either tradition agnostic, meaning they either list all four traditions or they list at least a group of traditions, or they don't list any, but I think they all list at least one. Or they pull from at least multiple traditions, meaning you are kind of bringing magic from different sources and kind of weaving them together into a more complex like layered system, which is kind of that narrative justifiability for or narrative justification for the bigger power and flexibility that you actually bring to the game.
Which is why it's easier to create new rituals from scratch than it is spells.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%. And you as a GM can tailor rituals to fit your party a lot more easily in my mind. You could be like, "Oh, I want this ritual to teleport. Okay, I can come up with a reason why the primal caster can contribute to that. Like it's a lot easier to say like, oh, you're weaving in like kind of the vague magic of what nature's pathway. That's the new name for that spell. You're the arcanist is working out like a teleportation circle aspect of the ritual, and then there's a lot more you can uh, tie in there to make even low level characters get access to some of this higher level stuff.
Hmm.
Then we really start moving away from spellcasting with things like alchemy and invention. And I'm kind of throwing these two together. They're not really the same thing necessarily, but they're very similar. So alchemy is not necessarily magic, and I'm using like magic in quotes or like with a capital M in the context of the game because alchemy works in anti-magic zones typically. I'm sure there's somewhere in the game where they have an anti-magic zone where alchemy also doesn't work, but that would be a special case. Inventors, statistically, something exists. You know, this game's
Yeah,
existed
okay,
for
I get
20
that.
years. I'm sure something's out there. And invention, like what the inventors can do, they create these gadgets that it's fantasy science. You know, it's not, this isn't something that you could actually do with real science in most cases, but it's not magic in the fact that this works in Alkenstar, the city where magic doesn't work.
And some
So
of them
like
still replicate spells or they imitate potion effects.
exactly. So like this, we're kind of, as we're talking about these three on this first slide, we're really like, you know, spellcasting is the most capital M magic. Rituals are magic, but they're a lot more flexible. And then you get to alchemy and invention, which is kind of a lowercase m magic. It's magical stuff, but it is not technically spellcasting. And I don't recall if there are ever instances of alchemy or inventions using the tradition tags. Do you know, Jake, if they happen to use any of those? I don't know off the top of my head.
Just potions.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But yeah, so today the discussion is going to be focused on spellcasting and specifically the four traditions of spellcasting. So that's where we're going. But before we get to the traditions themselves, we need to lay even more groundwork. Because I'm an engineer and laying a strong foundation was drilled
Because
into
I'm an
me from a
engineer.
very young age.
Well, but yeah, this is important. And this image that you have and images like this in the system are extremely inspiring.
Yes, this is probably my favorite diagram in all of Secrets of Magic, which is impressive because that is probably one of my favorite books in the entire system. It is so good. But they do such a great job of making the magic in Pathfinder feel like a thing that is actually studied in universe and not just kind of a hand wavy thing that they can just make up whatever they want about. They did a really good job here. So, um, underlying the four magical traditions are the four essences. And these are kind of like, you could think of these as like the building blocks of all of creation or the great beyond, whatever you want to, whatever term you want to use for all of existence. So like there are the four essences: life, matter, mind, and spirit. And two of these kind of make up everything at its base level, and then two of them shape that everything into a perceivable reality. But we will get into that. Um, Before we get into these, Jake, do you have like greater like background context that I should bear in mind as we move forward and kind of get into the specifics?
Well, I mean, depending on your studies, I can see there's a through line of transition through all of the essences. So, like, things begin with spirit and then transmit through energy into mind through life and then dissolve into matter. So it's
Mhm.
a cycle.
Okay, giving like that cool figure eight pattern.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. All right, so we will keep that in mind as we go. So I did these four essences in alphabetical order. There's not really an order that in which you necessarily need to understand them, but we're going to start off with life. So life is the way I try to think about it is the difference between a wisdom stat and an intelligence stat. Life is a wisdom stat. It is the understanding or the knowledge that you can contain that is not based on logic or figuring things out. It's your ability to kind of perceive and intrinsically understand and know something. It is faith. It is instincts. It is kind of this like you don't have like complexity of the real world that kind of binds this understanding. It's just kind of more like a raw intrinsic knowledge and understanding that you can have. It's kind of an interesting concept because paired with that, you also have vitality, which is the new word for positive energy, and void, which is the new word for negative energy. Both of these are considered life in a sense, which is interesting because typically in the Pathfinder setting, you would consider vitality to be void, or excuse me, vitality to be life and void to be unlife. But in the broader context of the four essences, both vitality and void are considered life, life aligned energies.
Well, that makes perfect sense to me because if you think about it philosophically, death isn't a separate thing than life. Death is
Hmm.
part of life. If
Hmm.
you're alive, eventually you'll die. It's part of the same process.
Hmm. And I think it's interesting because like void very often isn't like void is death, but void is used to create unlife. You can kind of basically key void in reverse
Hmm.
to create unlife and do the thing it's not supposed to do.
Imitate
But
life.
exactly, it's really interesting that I like what they did with that. It gives these two things that should be opposites. It gives them this like really cool connection that makes them feel even more in tension with each other.
Yeah, they both have animating force.
Exactly. So then immediately adjacent to life, we have matter, and I'm referring to adjacent on this chart if we go clockwise. So then we have matter, and matter is it is all physical matter. It is the things you can touch. You know, it's your liquids or your solids, your liquids, your gases, and your plasmas. In addition to that, however, the concept of matter within the universe of Pathfinder doesn't have the same definition that we use for matter. It also includes all forms of what I'm going to call scientific energy. And what I mean by that is chemical energy, potential energy, thermal energy, kinetic energy, like all of those energies that you can have mathematical equations for in the real world. This is like even gravity would be considered like even like gravitational energy or magnetic forces could be considered like this kind of broader matter designation within the context of Pathfinder's magic.
Physics and
Um,
logic fit really well in matter.
Yes, exactly. So like matter specifically is it's bound by laws, you know, all the Newton's laws of motion, all that kind of stuff. The study of the field of matter is based purely on observation and experimentation. So this is your hard science essence. And as you can see, it's very much in contrast with some of the other ones that we're going to see that get increasingly soft sciences as you move towards spirit.
I like the way that matter straddles both primal and arcane because there is nature that isn't alive, and that's just part of matter. But of course, there could be spirits in that, and that would be moving more toward life. But for matter overall, um, arcane energy and primal energy both deal with reality, what is not just physical, but bound by the laws of physics. Spirit and mind really isn't.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to it. I really like how they tie these four together. It's really cool. Um, then we get to, like you said, then we get to the mind. And the mind is your capacity for rationality. It's your capacity for making decisions and like kind of deeper follow-on thought. It is separate from like rote memorization, which you might see in kind of the observation and experimentation of magic. And it's also different from the instinct that you would see in the context of life. It's not just the ability to kind of know something intrinsically, it's the ability to figure something out.
It's sapiens, more
Yep.
so humanoids than animal.
Hmm.
And primal life is more animal. Primal divine life is more instinctual survival.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get to spirit, and spirit's definitely one of the harder ones for me to conceptualize. This is your kind of capacity for emotional growth and change. This is your capacity to be a different person tomorrow than you are today. You can kind of get past how you were coded to be when you woke up in the morning. And then what's interesting is that spirit, even though it is not technically matter within the Pathfinder universe, does have a version of physical manifestation. It can manifest as this thing called quintessence, which I know it has its own meaning in our like universe and like theologies and various kinds of mysticism. But in the Pathfinder universe specifically, quintessence is the thing that makes the outer planes. So like heaven is made of quintessence. All of the stuff in heaven or all the stuff in hell or all the stuff in the outer rifts, like all of it, every rock in the outer rifts is made of quintessence at its core. Um,
And in a lot of different faiths or philosophies in our world, quintessence is the backbone of everything. It's if you've watched Doctor Strange, the first one, it is the source code that controls the universe.
mhm,
It's the base layer of everything.
mhm,
Before mind enters the picture, before there's intelligence, before there's even energy, there is a spiritual background, which is how you get coexistent planes that have a spiritual echo of the physical plane that you're on.
Yep, and Pathfinder is very like Paizo is very clearly drawing from that kind of broader mythology when they came up with how kind of the outer planes are layered over one another and how the material plane is kind of shelled within the elemental planes and all that. This isn't a
I
video
want
about
to,
planes.
well, no, but we could go into that.
Yeah,
Um,
we could, trust me. Maybe someday.
but
Next
one thing I want to
8 hour
point out,
video.
I don't know if we can cover it in 8 hours.
Maybe.
I
We could
think I might
try.
have to limit you to like 70 slides. Like maybe you need to
Mm,
like cut back on your habit a little.
maybe for the celestial planes I could do 70 slides. 70
Okay,
slides is
so
like the boneyard alone.
350 slides, next video.
Mm,
No, the quintessence thing I wanted to point out is that in our world, because quintessence is the unseen layer of reality, quintessence in our world is not the physical manifestations. That's us. That's
mhm,
anything that is touchable, that has heft or lift.
mhm.
But in our world, physically manifested quintessence is called TAS. Like you pick up an object that is made of only that energy, it's TAS, which contains quintessence.
Hmm. That is a term I've never heard before. That is cool. Yeah, and for clarity, quintessence does not typically manifest in situations that players find themselves in. It is most commonly found in the outer planes. It is very rare to find raw quintessence, or even like processed or like formed quintessence in the material plane. It's extremely rare.
It would be essentially like the creative stuff of the multiverse. Like it'd be
Yeah.
able to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. So this is something that you would really only interact with at really high level play. Now, one of the interesting things about these four essences is these four essences, you, the audience, might have already kind of figured this out from the way that the diagram is laid out, because it's a really nice diagram. The four essences make up the four traditions of magic. So each essence, or excuse me, each tradition is a combination of two essences. So life and matter, for instance, where those interact is primal magic. Where matter and mind interact is arcane magic, and so on and so forth. We're going to get into each one individually, like each combination. But there are built-in oppositions within the system. So matter and spirit are fundamentally misaligned. They kind of are the things that give. I had mentioned earlier that like two of these give kind of the building blocks for the universe, and that's matter and spirit. So all things are made from matter and spirit, but they lack shape and direction until mind and life give that to them. So kind of, matter and spirit are the building blocks. Mind and life are the things that put the blocks in a discernible order and bring order to kind of this formless chaos that would otherwise underlie reality.
We could talk about them as static and dynamic. Static is matter and spirit, dynamic is mind and life changing.
Yes, I could totally. Yes, that is an excellent frame through which to view these things. And they're both important, but only through the interaction of them do you really get anything useful. And
Like
one of the things that I really like that Paizo has done. So, Jake, did you happen to read any of the God's Reign prophecies as they debuted last year, leading up to the death of Gorum?
read, no, listen to a little bit.
Okay. Did you happen to listen to the one about Nethys?
No.
Okay, the Nethys one is sick. Good. All right. So, for those unfamiliar, Nethys is the god of magic, and there are many gods of magic in the Pathfinder universe, of course. But Nethys is the god of magic within the system. If you have to think of a god of magic, it is him. Nethys is a god who is defined by his duality. He was once a mortal man, and his understanding of magic was such that he ascended to divinity. He back in first edition, which we'll get to kind of first edition understanding of magic a little later, but he was the god who kind of unified arcane and divine magic, which at the time was how Pathfinder viewed magic. There was no other systems. He merged them into a single being, him. And he's, he is creation and destruction. His body is constantly being torn apart and rebuilt by his own power because one half of him destroys and the other half of him creates. Uh, he's very
Ew.
that's why his symbol is a face that is split down the middle. It's black on one side and white on the other. It's the side of him that's burnt and is falling away, and the side of him that's constantly healing.
Ew. It's like
He's
matter and antimatter in a person.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome. But the God's Reign prophecies were it was this really cool hype event that Pathfinder did to kind of get people excited for who was going to die in the God's Reign. Turns out it was Gorham. Rest in war, buddy. But
Rest in war.
it's what he would have wanted. Uh,
Rest in
uh,
power.
Yes, rest in power, Gorham. But Nethys, so each of the gods' reign prophecies told the story of what if one of the gods died. And Nethys's was really exciting because Nethys took a look at matter and spirit and said, why is this separate from mind and life? I've combined divine and arcane magic before. Like that's how I came to be. So he took matter and spirit and mind and life, and he took them in his hands and he merged them into one thing, and he proceeded to blow up all of creation, including himself.
That is an awesome idea.
Yep. Nethys is awesome. That is one of my favorite things about him. I need to remaster my Nethys video so that I can tell people about that.
That is a scientist in the middle of an experiment. They just go, I wonder what this will do.
Yeah, yep, and proceeds to blow up everything. Yep. Yeah. So
He made a black hole. Yeah.
yeah,
great.
do not. Yeah, to quote Ghostbusters, do not cross the streams. It is not going to work. But yeah, it's very cool. But now we get a little bit more specific because where these essences interact are the traditions, and we're going to get into the traditions, and we're going to start with my favorite, Arcane, because it's my video. No,
That
it's
is a
our
really
video, but they're
pretty
my
picture.
slides.
No, I know. That's a really pretty picture. Where'd you get that from? What book is
This
that?
is I think this one came directly from Secrets of Magic. I Google imaged it to get a clearer picture. But yeah, this is the iconic summoner. I can't remember her name right now. I feel kind of bad about that. But yeah, this is from Secrets of Magic. She's a dragon summoner, so she has arcane magic until a new version of the summoner comes out.
Oh, that's until the new version of the summoner comes out. That's the symbol on the dragon. I didn't notice that it matched her forehead.
Yes, yep, that's her. That's her personal rune. But arcane magic. So, what is arcane magic? Arcane is the combination of matter, so the kind of physical, but also the magic that is bound by laws, or the essence that is bound by like laws and study, and mind, the ability to rationalize and think and make logical decisions. Naturally, this becomes the study of the physical. I have four phrases throughout these. So there's like the study or the faith, and then it's the physical or the metaphysical. This is the study of the physical. So what is arcane magic? Arcane magic is, of the four traditions, it is the most academic by like a country mile. Like study of arcane magic and like scholarship of arcane magic is specifically like defined by study. It's defined by debate. It's defined by theorization, the creation of formulas. This is the magic that you study on a whiteboard in a lecture hall because you can do it that way.
Reminds me of my witch school classes.
Yeah, I was like, there's a reason this is my favorite. It's because I spent 4 years in engineering school killing my brain with math.
Yeah. I imagine people that do arcane magic are like at heart like the inventor class.
Yes.
They're
Mhm.
just trying to come up with new ways of doing things, but it has to be logical, it has to make sense. And besides that, they're going to study from any source that can be verified and is reputable.
In a world where there weren't spellcasters, they would be inventors and alchemists.
Yeah.
Absolutely. hmm yeah, so they're intensely academic. All of their not all, but the vast majority of arcane spells tend to focus on the laws of the physical universe and how to manipulate, not necessarily break, but like bend them or use them to your advantage. So, how can you separate the positive and negative charges to create a lightning bolt? How can you align the particles in the air and cause a spark to create an ignition for a fireball? And then obviously there's there's changing momentum and changing gravity and yada yada yada. What's interesting is because of this intense like academia focus, there are many different competing lenses of understanding within within the context of like arcane magic scholarship. So one of those is the tools of creation. This theory goes that magic is the power. It's the tools that were used by the gods to create the universe, but because they used them, they can't just destroy them within the universe. The tools still exist, and through using magic, we are using those tools. The next one is the soil and path theory. This is practiced in the Magambia, which I
Wait,
think
pause
is
for a moment. I want to
yeah,
add
yeah,
some
yeah.
tools of creation. So, in a lot of fantasy novels, including those that are official D&D, the tools of creation, magic is left over by the gods, is represented by all of the gods having infinite spells in their mind. So they
Mm.
can call forth any freaking power just because they're gods.
Hmm.
And in one of the books, Bane was ascending to godhood again, and he was like, "Okay, I feel a little bit more powerful. I feel more powerful. I think I can reach that divine spark." And then suddenly, his mind filled with every spell that was ever made.
Ah, okay. That's cool. I like that, especially with the understanding of like how spell slots were narrativized in those
Hmm.
editions. Yeah, that's cool. So the next approach is the soil and obviously I'm listing three here. They're the three I could find information on. There are many. The next approach is the soil and path approach. This is the understanding kind of taught by the Magambia, which is kind of Central African magical grad school is how I would describe it. It's awesome. It's so cool. But
Magical
that is
grad school.
yeah, that is where our lovely summoner iconic and her little dragon pet are right now. I think that's the Magambia. But that is the school founded by Old Mage Jitembe, the most accomplished wizard in the entire series. We'll get to him at the very end. But yeah, he founded this magical school, and they kind of teach that magic is a path. It's kind of a path through reality that you can carve into the universe. And the more you study it, the more you practice it, you broaden that path and you allow for little branching paths to come off of it. And that's how you develop new spells, new ideas about magic, new rituals, yada, yada, yada. So I really like that one from a narrative. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I like that too. And you could also follow the path that someone else has tread. So you're learning
Hmm.
directly from a master and you're following their path, and then you can
Exactly.
branch off on your own. So I
Hmm.
like that it's creating your own, but it's also following something that's established, which works perfectly with the static aspect of matter magic.
Hmm. It's really cool. I really like that. And then the next one I found information on very little, but a little bit is Faridius. Faridius is uh, this is the world is the Matrix. Basically,
Yeah, I
magic is
love
a
this one.
glitch in the programming of reality, and you can neo the Matrix. Basically, it doesn't believe that the world is the Matrix. It treats it as though it were, and that you can manipulate basically the code of reality to do what you want. Um,
If anybody plays Mage the Ascension, the Faridius is what all of the mage traditions follow.
Okay. I wonder if this is a reference or like a direct inspiration from that, perhaps.
I don't think so. No, it's
Okay.
an ancient philosophical belief
Okay.
that
All right.
true magic can be accessed by anyone if you are able to bend yourself enough to see it.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. So the classes, so on each of these I have done like what classes can kind of interact with these. So specifically, the wizard, the wizard.
We got the Wazer and the
We got
Magus.
the wizard and the magus. The wizard and the magus are the two dedicated arcane casters in the game. Makes sense. The two bookish classes. You have your nerd arcane caster in the wizard and your jock arcane caster in the magus. They are both bookworms. Uh,
Jock. The Magus is the jock.
This is a relative term, but yes.
Because
Uh,
they still read books. So they're
yeah,
like the jock that like sneaks the little book onto the bus when nobody's looking.
yeah, exactly. Yep. He's the kicker on the football team. He's technically athletic. No
Jock.
disrespect to
It's
kickers.
funny.
You have a very important job.
Or jocks. We need you in the world too.
Yeah, we do. Yep. I am not one. I need y'all. All right, and then we have subclasses. So naturally, in Pathfinder, there are classes which can switch magical traditions. This is something they did in second edition that they didn't do in first edition, and it seems so obvious. It's a really good design decision. So the sorcerer has two bloodlines that can interact with arcane magic. The first is the Imperial bloodline. I'm running these from memory, so I might miss a couple. But the Imperial bloodline, which means you are descended from some kind of archmage, or the Genie bloodline. And the Genie bloodline means you are pulling from the arcane genies who kind of manipulate the elemental planes. Then you have the witch. As far as I know, there's only one arcane witch patron, and that is it's the runes one. I forget the name of it now.
Koba Slarney.
Oh yeah, Cobus Slarney. I forgot about Cobus Slarney.
The weirdest freaking name ever. You have to remember Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe. Yeah, the giant elephant school. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
inscribed
Okay.
one is
I
the
was
other
stand
one.
corrected. There is another one. Yeah, the Giant Elephant School. If that is your patron, you get Arcane Magic, and then the Summoner. For now, it is the Dragon. But it is also. Hang on, hang on. I got to cheat here because I left notes for myself. Uh, oh, the Construct. That's the other one. Okay. So
You do have cheating notes down
I
there.
do
I
have
see
cheating
that.
notes, but they don't show when I'm going full
Uh,
screen like this. Yeah. So the Summoner, if you are a dragon, well, okay. Time out here. Until Impossible Magic, when they remastered the Dragon Summoner, because I'm sure that's going to go by Dragon tradition,
yeah.
and not by just Dragon broadly. But for now, the Dragon is arcane. Again, that's going to change. But also the Construct Summoner gives you access to arcane magic. And for the characters who are more charisma based, specifically like the Summoner and the Witch, you might think, okay, how do you fit the idea of arcane, which is really understanding based, into a charisma based character who might not have a lot of intelligence points? And the way I like to think of it, and this is not the only way, obviously, is to think of it like, oh, you have kind of this innate understanding of these things, even if you can't put it into words. You Somebody can throw a ball at you and you know where to put your hand to catch it, or at least you know how to kind of get your hand in the right direction. You couldn't mathematically describe how where the ball is going to be, but your brain knows it, and your force of charisma is what's pushing your like your assertion of that understanding into reality. That's kind of my understanding.
Charisma is supposed to be willpower, and that fits what a lot of Wiccans and other pagans call themselves, will workers. It's a common title in any kind of spellcraft, um, as long as it is not as regimented as a religion, which it sometimes is, Rosicrucians, um, and also the Kabbalistic teachings are
Hmm.
more study these books and you get power. Anybody who is sort of grassroots magic, magician, or witch, depending on what you call it, they base all of what they do on willpower. And because of that, they think that the only thing that matters is willpower. And so everything that they do tries to encourage their minds to be able to bend to allow that willpower to flow through them to activate magic.
That makes sense. I gotta say, I really love how you say sometimes it does take the form of religion, Rosicrucians, and then you just move on like I'm supposed to have any context for what that. This is why Jake is here.
If you're
And I'm
curious
just like,
about how the
yeah,
Rosicrucians,
like the Rosicrucians. What he said. I know what's up.
no, okay, so the Rosicrucians are the Rosicrucians are a lot like thaumaturges. They
Okay.
study ancient magic to try to understand it better.
Okay. Thank you for putting this in terminology that I can understand. I very much appreciate that.
Sorry.
The funny thing is, there's a huge number of people who, even with that explanation, would look at me and be like, "That made sense to you?"
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, crystal clear, no problem.
If you're curious about Rosicrucians, go look them up.
Hmm. That's what Wikipedia is for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, now I'm imagining a version of Wikipedia that is for like esotericism and occultism, and it's just called Wikipedia.
It's called Wikipedia.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
Sorry it
yep.
exists.
Dang it. Thought I had a good pun name there. I
That
mean, I
would have
do,
been
but
good. Yeah, why
yeah,
didn't people choose that? No,
yeah,
it's a
that would have made way
Wikipedia.
more sense.
Yeah.
But continuing on with our discussion of arcane magic, because of course I had two slides for each tradition, because I'm me. Uh, There are beliefs that you can kind of associate with arcane magic. Now, you might think, oh, it's arcane magic. It's got nothing to do with the gods, because divine magic is on the complete opposite side of the magical spectrum within the context of Pathfinder. But there are actually several deities who have interests in arcane magic. Obviously, any deity that just is a god of magic is going to have interests in arcane magic specifically, especially when most of these characters were written back in first edition. Arcane and divine magic were the only two forms of magic. They didn't have the four systems figured out yet. But you have your deities of magic. So most famously, you have Nethys, but you also have Yulral, who is the elven deity of magic, Lysala, who is the Thessalonian deity of magic and is associated with like runes of power, Nali Nivati, who is a very cool snake deity of, or snake person deity of magic and family, and also poison, which is very
Don't
cool.
the Nagaji follow her?
Yes, the Nagaji follow her. Yes,
I love
generally speaking,
Nagaji. They're so fun.
they're so cool.
I got a
You
throat pocket.
they're awesome. They're so cool. I also love that they have like there's like 4 or 5 different body types among the Nagaji, and they're all wildly different.
It's totally just making the one T from D&D a sorry if I mispronounced that. Making it a playable race.
Yeah, it's awesome. And who cares if you mispronounce it? It's D&D. We don't respect that over here.
It's probably UNT or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know what you're talking about. That's what's important. Then we have Amaznan, who was the Aslanti god of magic. He died saving Galarian from Earthfall, which is pretty cool.
Do you think the
Um,
person that made that deity is just like, you know what? Let's make somebody amazing. Amazing.
Perfect. Yep. Print it, ship it. We're on a deadline. Then we have everyone's favorite deity, Rasmir.
Yes!
Praise be unto his name. Uh,
Razmir.
Rasmir, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I'm bowing. I don't have my camera on. Uh, and then a new deity, a new deity defined in Divine Mysteries. I don't know if they were mentioned anywhere else before Divine Mysteries. I don't think they were. Androgyny or Atrogeny, excuse me. They're very new. I don't know that much about them other than deity of magic, and based on the name, I'm assuming some ancient Greek inspiration.
Yeah, they sound Greek.
Sounds Greek
I
to
mean,
me.
because it looks like Atropos.
Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming there's some kind of Greek inspiration there, but maybe I'll get to it someday. But we also, in addition to the deities of magic, we have deities of invention. And this kind of ties back to how constructs have always been kind of historically tied to arcane magic. So you have the most obvious deity of invention, which is Bri, uh, goddess of clockwork and innovation.
Robot
And then,
lady.
yep, and then Cassandra Lee, actual robot lady, the goddess of artificial intelligence.
Specifically artificial intelligence?
Yes. Yep. She's a goddess of invention, but and artificial beings, but and then even more specifically, artificial intelligence. Uh, so I won't get into
Wow.
more than that because I don't want to spoil Iron Gods.
Well, Bri was a construct before she became a deity, wasn't she?
That is one of the myths. Yeah, there are competing myths within
Oh,
the Church of
I didn't
Bri.
realize there
One of
was
which is
a.
that she's a construct. The other of which is that she was a human who turned herself into a construct.
Okay, you
Um,
know what? I just realized that I remembered that story because I liked that one better.
yep.
It was a
Yep.
construct that became a deity. I just thought that was cool.
So, fun fact about Bri and Cassandra Lee. Do you know what happens to them in Starfinder?
No.
They merge with an AI and become a artificial intelligence electronics god. I think it's called the Triune. Uh, it's awesome. It's so cool. I love that. I love that they just became
Wow.
one thing.
That is neat.
It's super
Have you
cool.
seen the TV show American Gods?
No, I've wanted to watch it, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, it's fine. I love that American Gods depicts deities as how they would interact with normal everyday people and
Hmm.
what they would seem like.
Hmm.
And one of them is uh, the the Fates, so the three goddesses
Hmm.
in one.
Hmm.
And there's just like they're always split up, and there's just these three goddesses walking around and talking about stuff, but they're the same deity.
That's cool. I like that. Another good one for that is, have you seen the show on Netflix, Chaos, spelled with a K?
Uh, I started to. It was so cheesy.
I love it. It was so good. Jeff Goldblum as Zeus. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, he
But
killed it.
yeah, he was the best part of it.
Oh yeah. Yep. Uh, but
Go on.
Arcane Magic. So there are also
Oh,
several.
Chaos. The show Chaos. How does it relate?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. The show Chaos is it's just along that same line of showing like how the gods would interact with people in real life.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
just along that line. Not related to arcane magic necessarily. That's way more divine magic. But
Okay.
we'll get to that in a few slides. But arcane magic also has associations with several planes of existence. So obviously the outer planes are varied and there's tons of them. There's also like the inner planes and yada yada yada. Several of the planes that are associated specifically with arcane magic, meaning if you are a practitioner of arcane magic, or your character is, I should say, you might have ties to some of these planes. The first is the Nightmare Realm of Leng. This one's also kind of tied to occultism, but the Nightmare Realm of Leng is a horrifying place, very
It's
much inspired.
Lovecraft.
Yes, very much Lovecraftian in nature, inspired directly by Lovecraft, actually.
Yeah.
But then you also have the astral plane, kind of the, one of the like measurable pinnacle achievements of most arcane casters, especially wizards, is eventually being able to cast astral projection. So you're not really in any danger anymore. And then of course the dimension of time, sometimes referred to as Stethilos. All of these have connections to arcane magic more than the other traditions.
And the Dimension of Time and Lang are detailed in some of the APs. And
Hmm.
Lang, so the main reason I like Lang is apart from having weird, silly geometry, like
Yes.
you walk into an invisible doorway, basically, and you are automatically teleported and reoriented to a different doorway in their dimension. I love that the doorway to get to Lang is at the bottom of the ocean and it's a temple to Cthulhu.
One, I should clarify, one of the ways to get to
Right, right,
Leng.
right,
That's
right,
the
right.
main one.
I just love that.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's
want to get to
great.
that weird outer place? Just go to the ocean.
Yeah, go to the bottom of the ocean. No problem. Uh, yeah, so if you are interested in kind of how some of these work or how some of these have been incorporated into APs, Leng most famously is associated with the Rune Lords. Very, very frequently, the Rune Lords made use of Leng, specifically the Rune Lords of Greed. So, Rise of the Rune Lords and Shattered Star both take you to Leng. Well, Rise has to do with Leng. Uh, Shattered Star takes you to Leng. And then the Dimension of Time, Return of the Rune Lords, you actually get to go to the Dimension of Time. You go there, and spoiler alert for Revenge of the Rune Lords. Skip ahead 10 seconds. You meet Yog-Sothoth there because he's just hanging out.
What AP is that?
That is Return of the Rune Lords. It is
Oh
great. Book 6 is
my
wild.
God, I want to play that. I'm making a note of it right now.
It is great. It is also just a great AP overall.
You go to the dimension of time.
Yeah,
It's so
he is
great.
he is sick. All right, now there are also centers of learning specifically for arcane characters. So if you are an arcaneist, an arcanist, you may have studied at some of these facilities. Obviously, there are many throughout the world. I've just listed kind of the three big ones for the Inner Sea region. The first is the Academy in Corvosa. So Corvosa is the site of the Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure path, as well as the Shadows at Sundown adventure. But the Academy is well regarded throughout all of Avestan as like an incredibly accomplished university, especially for characters who are good at summoning. So they're very good at teaching summoning magic. So if you're a wizard who specializes in summoning, or a summoner who practices arcane magic, great place to have come from right there. The Arcanumirium in Absalom is one of the Obviously, it's in Absalom, the biggest city in the world. It's a very good school. They do a lot of they do a lot of arcane study there, and then the biggest and best of them all is the Magambia in central Garund, the Moagi Expanse, founded by Old Mage Jatembe, practices a combination of primal and arcane magic, and actually starts to blend the two a little bit in some really fun ways. So, lots of cool schools.
I'm going to go back one segment, if I may, to the
Yeah.
associated planes.
Hmm.
So I want to mention that Lang also, sorry, there is in the adventure Stolen Fate, there is an optional entrance into the plane of Lang in that AP.
Oh, I didn't know that. I missed that
Yeah,
when I read through it.
and the dimension of time is touched on in Outlaws of Alkenstar.
That's right. I forgot about that. Good reminder.
Fun adventures.
There's a lot of
Also,
fun ones.
the Magambia is detailed in a few different adventures or books, including Strength of Thousands. But do you know
Yes.
if there is some book that specifically goes into the Arcanumarium?
There's an adventure. Hang on, I've got it right here.
Cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet. Hang on. It is Academy of Secrets. It is a 13th level adventure for Pathfinder First Edition.
First edition. That's why I didn't know of it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm like,
So
oh my
there.
god, is that new? I've never heard of it before.
No, no, it's actually quite old. It's hang on. Publication date. Why aren't you printed on the inside front cover? You're supposed to
Academy
be.
of Secrets. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Academy of Secrets. It is from very early. I don't remember the year. It's not written on here, but it's pretty early. It was written for Pathfinder RPG, so it's not that early. It's not 3.5 early, but it is early. Um, you also spend time in Corvosa, in Curse of the Crimson Throne. You don't go to the Academy directly. There is a glimpse of the Academy in a narrative in the Lord of Runes novel. You go there, you spend about a
Hmm.
chapter and a half there with Count Varian Jaeger, the main character.
They probably don't go into a lot of detail then.
No, but they go into one of the studies, and you hear about a lot of one of the professors in quite a bit of detail. So it's very niche, but if you really wanted to hear more about it, funny thing about the academy, um, they have this weird thing where they practice summoning imps. Like that's considered a rite of passage is you summon an imp. Except they summon so many and they practice a lot. And when they practice, if the students don't figure out the dismissal properly, the imps just kind of hang around. So every year several times a year, in fact, the massive population of imps in the city will just go completely berserk. And Corvosan house drakes have evolved to prey upon imps. So several times a year, there is a massive war in the
Wow.
skies between the house drake population and the imp population as they fight for
Oh
dominance
my
of the skies.
god. I
It's
was thinking the
amazing.
Harry Potter scene where the imps get loose. This is way more extreme.
It's awesome. It's so cool. It is such a big deal that it like in Curse of the Crimson Throne, it is played as a hazard. Like you have to like get around some of these
Yeah,
fights.
okay. That would be a hazard.
And in the Lord of Runes novel, it becomes a problem. Like it's a thing that everybody knows is a problem, but nobody knows how to solve. Like it happens in the novel, and everyone's like, "Crap, it's happening again."
They need Hermione.
They need something. They need a way to fix this. It's a big problem.
That's
But now
amazing.
we have playable playable house drakes. So realistically, they just need all the house drakes to become player characters, level up a few times, and then this war will be over really fast.
I love that that's realistically.
Yes, yeah. That's how you solve this problem.
That is awesome.
Hmm.
Oh, I can see a story developing from there. Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, you could
100%.
actually have a
Yeah.
whole group of house drakes that come specifically from that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you could make an adventuring party that's just that.
Oh,
Like
that's
totally.
fun.
Honestly, if you were to run Curse of the Crimson Throne in second edition, you would start the way you would do it is play a party of house drakes whose first job is hunting down imps, and then eventually you get all the way up to saving the city.
Nice. Instead of killing rats.
That's totally how I would do it. Yep.
That's fun. All
But
right, thank you for explaining more.
yes, yes. Now we get to occult magic. We're getting away from the scientific and more into the weird.
Is that a
As we
chicken man?
That is his summoned Eidolon. That is the old iconic summoner.
That's an Eidolon. It's a chicken.
It's a giant chicken
Oh,
that
it's a
has a snake's
cockatrice.
tail. It's great.
It's got to be a
I
cockatrice.
think that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. I'm
Does it
not
have a
super familiar
claw?
with the old
What?
iconic because I didn't play a summoner in 1E.
Yeah, cockatrice has a serpent tail.
That sounds right. Yeah. There's
Okay, all
art
right.
of him doing his summoning wrong and it eating him.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. But occult magic. So this is the combination of mind and spirit. So the last one was the study. So arcane magic was the study of the physical. This is the study of the metaphysical. So you're still seeking understanding, but you've moved over from the world that can be understood through laws and equations to the world that very much cannot. Uh,
Every
s-
ghost hunter's show.
yes, yep, exactly. So the features of occult magic. Occult magic, as opposed to arcane magic, which was defined by rules and laws and logic, occult magic is defined by narrative. It is the magic of stories, it is the magic of immersions, and it is the magic of connection. The metaphor that they use in Secrets of Magic is that occult magic is a tapestry. The thread in the tapestry connects to every other thread in the tapestry. It's just a matter of figuring out what the path is and how to pull or push on the thread to make things tighten, make things loosen, or maybe unravel the entire thing, depending on what your goal is here. And thread in this instance is not a physical thing. It's some kind of connection. It can be very minor, but as long as it exists, you can manipulate it. So it might be an emotion that someone has that is similar to an emotion that another person has. It might be a memory of a thing that allows you to make a magical connection to the thing itself, the object, and then go find it. But the ability to kind of make those connections, understand them, and strengthen or weaken them is what allows like an occult practitioner to use their magic effectively.
And this is a very common theme in Wicca and paganism, greater paganism in general. The tapestry is used as a metaphor for how everyone and everything is connected, which explains how scrying and remote viewing work.
Mm-hmm. You're following
And
the thread along until you get where you
right,
want to go.
and also explains how sympathetic magic works. Like you have someone's a piece of someone a piece of hair from someone that you do a ritual on that hair and it affects that person because they're linked to the same
Yeah,
thread.
makes sense. Yeah. So, for the dedicated classes for occult magic, we have three. We have the Bard, obviously. This Bard used to be an arcane caster. When they came up with the four traditions, they said that's dumb, and they made them an occult caster, which
They
makes way
said
more
that's
sense.
dumb.
It makes way more sense this way.
No,
Uh,
I'm bothered by the bard being occult magic, not because it should be arcane, but because bards in our world, yes, they had stories. Yes, narrative mattered a lot to them, but they were also healers. They carried knowledge of herbs from town to town. They should have
mm,
the option of being primal, goddammit.
you can play the new. It's not primal. It's still occult, but you can play. What is that Bard Muse? There's like the Nature Muse that lets you really good at dealing with animals and plants. Um, there's another one. It doesn't make you primal, but if you wanted to play primal, I would. If you were dedicated to that, I could see the GM making like a caveat of like, okay, you can do primal, or like you still get the occult spell list, but it's considered like primal magic for you. I don't know. Um,
I know primal is more powerful in general than occult, but god damn it, they should have the druid. Yeah, I know druids are primal as well, but I also have an issue with that because druids were also storytellers and people that carried news from town to town, so they should also have the option of being a cult.
we'll get to primal at the end.
I'm like, no, this isn't right.
I think we can at least agree if you take the historicity out of it, the way that bards are portrayed in D&D, which fed into Pathfinder, it makes more sense for them to be occult casters. Yeah, yeah. Context. Uh, we also have the psychic, which is, it's the weird caster. Overall, I mean, it makes sense. It's definitely the one where I'm like, ooh, there's a lot going on with the psychic. You could definitely see the psychic in a couple different traditions. I think occult makes the most sense, but it's definitely the one where I'm like, there's what is there? 24 different subclass combinations for the psychic, you could definitely see some of them being like, oh, that one should be arcane. But I get it, spell list creep. You gotta nerf them a little or limit them a little bit to make sure something doesn't get crazy.
That's why there was a whole expansion for psionics in second edition, first edition, and third edition D&D.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Actually, I
not
don't know if there
super
was for
familiar with
first.
psionics, but yeah. And then we have the upcoming Necromancer class, which I was very shocked to find out was an occult caster. I would not have guessed that. I guess it kind of makes sense, but it just I would have guessed arcane or divine or what pick from those two. I would not have guessed occult. It's not wrong. It surprises
I
me.
agree with that, but arcane seems to be more about damage
Hmm.
than occult, and occultism. Okay, so occultism seems to me to be like a low-powered divine. Like divine is about the angels and demons and devils from different realms and
Hmm.
azadas and constructs from different planes. And occultism is like lesser forms of those. Like you get
Hmm.
like Whale the Banshee. I know that's not lesser, it's really powerful, but you get like the
It
more
feels
terrestrial
lower
versions
power
of divine.
narratively. Yeah.
Right. You get
Hmm.
more terrestrial versions of divine beings. Like there
Hmm.
are ghosts and other spirits that you mess with. So it makes it feels okay to me that the
Hmm.
necromancer isn't divine. To
Yeah.
make them arcane would be fitting with the past, but if you think about just the necromancer, what they're supposed to be doing in Pathfinder 2 as the new class,
Hmm.
arcane doesn't make any
No.
sense
No.
thematically.
Hmm. And I will say I do think the necromancer makes sense in one very specific way. The occult system is opposite of the primal system, and the primal system has absolutely nothing to do with necromancy within the context of the game.
Yeah.
And uh, occult magic specifically makes use of mind and spirit, two things which are shared, mind with arcane and spirit with divine. So I can see it. If you want to play your guy as more divine, you just lean into the spirit side of it. If you want to play as more arcane, you lean into the mind side of it. It
Yeah.
just I was just surprised.
Well, I get that because it's a break from tradition.
Yeah. But then we have subclasses. We have the sorcerer, the witch, and the summoner. Again, it's going to be those three every time. Uh, but
Witches!
witches, they can do anything. I love witches. They are great in this system. But I need to go to my cheat sheet again. So, whoops.
You broke the
I broke
internet.
it again. Dang it. Hang on. We'll do the share again. There we go. Fixed it. All right. Okay, so what are my notes to myself? So the sorcerer, we have the aberrant bloodline. We have which I mean that makes sense. It's the outer gods bloodline. Yeah, that sounds occult to me. We have the hag bloodline, occult. Makes
Cursing.
sense. Yep. The Harrow bloodline, which is for those uninitiated, the Harrow is a magical deck of cards, very specifically calling back to the tarot deck in the real world. Um, it's associated with the Varisian peoples, fortune telling, stories, oral history.
Fate.
Fate,
Fate.
exactly. Yep. See the Stolen Fate adventure path. It's great. Um, and then the Shadow bloodline, which is just cool. Uh, then the witches. We have Baba Yaga.
So
Uh,
many.
so many, yeah. I had Kobe Slarney as occult. Is Kobe Slarney arcane? Did I get that
Oh, no.
wrong?
I'm checking now. Did I get it wrong? Oh my God, I'm dumb. He's a cult.
Oh, okay. Well, Kobe Slarney is occult. Giant witch school. It's awesome. Or
There's
excuse
only
me,
one
giant
arcane?
what?
Is there only one arcane?
I think there is. I think it's the runes one.
Damn.
The inscribed one. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But witches. But we have Baba Yaga, the mother of witches. She is a cult. Fun fact about Baba Yaga, the character, she can cast all different kinds of magic. She can cast arcane magic. She can cast occult magic. She can cast divine magic. She has figured out how to do all of that stuff because she's awesome. But as a witch patron, she is occult specifically. Kobe Slarney, the giant elephant that serves as a school, and I mean giant because he has a university on his back. Uh, we have the Spinner of Threads, which is the kind of weaving fate together patron. The Starless Shadow makes sense. It's the patron of the night. The Resentment, the patron with the coolest name, that got nerfed in the latest errata, but
Yeah. Sad.
sad, but I get it. Like it's fine. Most combats aren't
Oh,
going to
yeah.
last. Most combats aren't going to last that much longer than that anyway, so I get it.
Dude, I did a one shot with the Resentment Witch, and I extended grapple and stupid crap.
Oh, yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. I know why they did it. I'm just sad.
Yeah.
And then the Unseen Broker, it's the patron of deals. So it makes sense. And then the Summoner. We have two Summoner Phantoms that are related to Occult. They are the Phantoms, the Anger Phantom and the Devotion Phantom. I really like that. I really like those two as thematically. I don't necessarily love their mechanics, but their themes
I
are
like
great.
the Devotion Reactive Strike.
That is true. It does have the reactive strike. I like that. So all of those are occult. But if you are playing a character associated with occult magic, there are other things that you can kind of associate to your character as well. One of which is deities and belief systems. So, one group of deities that have associations with occult magic are deities of the night. So, for instance, Aleph, who is relatively new in terms of like details that we have on her. She's new in Divine Mysteries. Very cool art. Any of the Dark Tapestry deities, which is I'm kind of using as a very broad term. It means a bunch of different things, but most specifically the outer gods and the elder gods. So your Yog-Sothoth, your Azathoth, your Cthulhu, anything tentacly. Uh,
Nimbaloth, lots of
Nimbaloth,
lots.
yeah. Oh, I love Nimbaloth is the only one that I like, and it's the only one that's a Paizo original. So surprise, surprise. Desna, the goddess of luck, the night, and travel. She's probably the most popular of all of the night deities. Nocticula, the deity of night, redeemed artists, and redemption more broadly. Skio, who is the prince of the moon. He is god of not really redemption, but like understanding those who are different from you. Also, to some extent, a god of neurodivergence because he himself is neurodivergent, which is pretty cool.
In what way?
It's not a neurodivergence that we would classify here on Earth. He's a representative of neurodivergence because he died and was restored to life, and it kind of rewired his brain so that he sees the world in a way that is different from everybody else. It is not a one-to-one like aligned with any particular kind of neurodivergence that we experience here on Earth.
Okay, so his neurodivergence. Sorry, I have chocolate on my tongue. Um, is just that he like doesn't understand people, or he doesn't relate to reality. Like how?
He relates to reality, the cycle of life and death, the cycle of good and evil in a way that is different from others, and his perspective is different from all of the other gods, and especially those whom he was raised with. And so he champions those who have different perspectives, in particular those who are neurodivergent.
Does it specify in what way he's different? He thinks of these things differently.
I don't recall one, and I don't want to say it wrong. I'd have to go back and check my notes.
Oh, okay, no
So,
problem.
but there are specifics, but I don't recall them at this time.
Okay, I'm not trying to challenge you. I
No,
just
no, no.
didn't.
It's a good question. I just honestly don't remember. I wrote that script like a year and a half ago.
Well, it's better than guessing because I got a
Yeah,
couple slots
exactly. I'm not going
wrong.
to guess. I don't want to guess and get it wrong. But we also have the Cosmic Caravan. So fun fact, I just released a video about them last week. But they are the deities associated. It's a pantheon associated with the night sky, but also associated with kind of like fortune telling, astrology, star reading. It is also the name for the zodiac that is used in Avestan, the Cosmic Caravan. So there's a lot of crossover between astrology and that pantheon of deities.
It would also be a good folk band name.
It would be a very good folk. Oh, and the fans would be the Cosmic Caravanneers. That's actually the name I gave for followers of that pantheon. So yeah.
Nice.
So then, in addition to deities of the night, you also have trickster or mystery deities, which makes a lot of sense. The most famous of these is Grandmother Spider, the sister of Achekik, the mantis assassin god. So Grandmother Spider is a weaver of fate. She's also a trickster deity. Rumor has it that she has stolen a set of Asmodeus's keys, which may or may not include the key to Rovagug. Unclear, which would be very bad because she's not a good person. We also have Sivana, the goddess of illusions specifically. And then we have two of the eldest. So one of which is the Lantern King, and the other of which is you're gonna forgive me, Ing. I don't actually know how to pronounce this.
Yeah, I think ing works. Or like
Uh,
not good.
Yeah, I don't know this. Yeah, I don't know that there's a good way to pronounce ing. So, but then we also have two non-deific systems of belief that I am aware of. There are many others, but the Rivethun, which is a dwarven spiritualist practice that reveres spirits of nature, spirits of the deceased, as well as the gods, but contextualizes them as just greater spirits. They're just more powerful spirits.
I'm really glad they did something to add shamanistic beliefs to the system.
They did a great job. They did such a good job with the Rivathun.
Yeah.
It's got three frickin' archetypes. Like, it's so cool. Also,
Oh,
for any queer audience members out there, the Rivathun are really good at championing queer lifestyles. So check them out. They're awesome. But also, we have the Esoteric Order of the Palatine Eye, which I abbreviated to save on page space.
you got to save that ink.
Yeah, got to save that ink in this digital medium. All right, what is the esoteric? Jake, have you ever heard of the Esoteric Order of
Yes,
the
I
Palatine
love
Eye?
them. They're
They're great.
great.
They're great. I have a video coming out on them later this month.
They are totally like 1800s occult researchers.
Yeah, they're great. They're most associated with occult magic. They also do a little bit of divine magic stuff, but they're most closely associated with occult magic. They are super cool. 18th century like gentleman explorer, occult researcher types. They're really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of
They're
Egyptology stuff
yes,
woven into them. Yeah,
totally.
super fun.
There is a practice that for some reason I'm drawing a blank on, that was done in the 18th century that was all about, oh, and also it went into early 1900s. Man, why do I not remember the name of this? I even talked about this with somebody um, recently. So it was occult practices. Maybe after our next break, I'll remember. So it was a movement, spiritualism. It was a movement that was about contacting the other side,
Hmm.
and it was a huge deal. All of the aristocracy, people of the upper class, were performing, as in putting on or attending seances.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the idea of ectoplasm came from,
Oh, cool.
because of one specific. I don't think it was Madame Blavatsky, but I don't remember her name. She was one. She was a medium who held a gooey chemical mixture in her mouth until the end of the seance and then released it. And
Nice.
that's where we get ectoplasm from, because she spat it out.
That's
It's
funny. I like
not
that.
really a thing.
I like that. Ectoplasm does exist in the universe of Pathfinder. It is the manifestation of the ethereal plane, I think.
Well, that
Uh,
was her story, so that makes
yeah,
sense.
that would make a lot of sense. So planes associated with the occult tradition of magic. Uh, to some extent, Leng has some of these associations as well, but more broadly, the dimension of dreams. So the dimension of dreams it is the dimension where your subconscious goes when you fall asleep and you are dreaming, obviously. So the dimension of dreams has a ton of connections to occult magic because dreams in the universe of Pathfinder can connect people. That kind of one of the kind of defining features of that plane. You also have
And I
the
love that
ethereal.
it can.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and I love that it can be dangerous to sleep because of this, because there's a connection to the nightmare lands,
Oh yeah, it can be. Yeah, it can be real bad.
and you're
You
just
need.
sleeping.
Yeah, it can mess with you real bad. We also have the ethereal plane, which is kind of the interconnecting plane between the first world, the material plane, and the netherworld. And then we have the netherworld itself. Oh, the ethereal plane that's the plane of ghosts. And then we have the netherworld,
And
which
the
is
ethereal plane is coexistent, which means it overlays ours and it has replicas spiritually of physical objects that have been there for a long time in that world.
yes. Yep, exactly. Yes, 100% right. And then we have the netherworld. This is the new word for the shadow plane, which doesn't 100% overlay our world, but or the material plane, but it does. It has like dark mirrors of the things in the material plane. Shadow Absalom famously exists. It is a giant city. Um, so very cool. But all these have connections to occult magic. So if you're playing an occult caster, maybe you have a connection to some of these planes. The Dimension of Dreams is a really fun one for psychics. I like to use that as like a place where maybe a psychic gets some of their powers from. And then the centers of learning for occult magic are unsurprisingly, they can be a lot more spread out because so much of occult magic is connection. There's a lot of travel involved in understanding occultism. However, there are a couple more stationary things. Any fortress of the Esoteric Order of the Palatine Eye, which is mostly in Ustalav, but they also have things in Osirian, which is the in-universe version of ancient Egypt. And then we have the Herald Society, which is kind of a group of Varisian fortune tellers and esoteric scholars based in the town of Galduria in Varisia. These are the two I know of. Obviously, there are
That
more.
the Hare Society is interesting. So are they mostly about fate and luck, or do
I
they have
think
anything to do
so,
with the
but
esoteric order?
I need to go check my notes again. I wrote this a while ago and I don't remember exactly what they are. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
go back and check that. But they presumably they are based on Varisian magical traditions, which would be based on two things: the harrow as a fortune telling and magical device, and the cosmic caravan like star reading. Those would be the two things that I think would be associated with them, but I would need to go back and check specifics.
I could see those people using spirit bags as well. I have a question, but we are at 2 minutes. Should we pause here?
Yes, but tell me what a spirit bag is.
Oh, do you know what a gree is or a spirit
No,
pouch?
no, I
Okay,
do not. I'm sorry.
so
What's a
it is.
Rosicrucian?
They used to be Catholic, if that helps.
Yes, yeah.
Uh, so a spirit bag is usually a leather sack, some kind of satchel, that you place inside it items from a person that you want to affect with a spell, usually yourself,
Okay.
and physical objects that represent the manifestation of that spell. So, like rocks, herbs, parts of an animal, whatever. Like a dragon spirit pouch would have things related to change in it. So you'd
Okay.
have like fluorite and things like that.
Okay.
So I
That
could
makes
see them
sense.
using those as just charms.
I could totally see that. And Varisians have a tendency to just wear all kinds of trinkets. Like that's a huge part of their culture
Yeah.
is you wear everything you have of value on your person at all times. I could
I
totally
used to
see that.
have I used to have a dragon gree that I wore at all times under my shirt.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you guys might have already caught it. In fact, people probably commented while they were hearing it. Spiritism is what I was trying to remember.
Ah, okay.
It's actually something that Dan Aykroyd's family participated in. So yeah, early-ish 1900s, his family
Interesting.
was at the forefront of it.
That explains a lot of Dan Aykroyd's behavior.
Doesn't it? He said
Yes.
he's always been fascinated with the other side and spirits.
I did not realize that I would get a revelation about why Dan Aykroyd is the way he is, but that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we are
That's
now
what I'm
moving
here for. Is it
important
me or does this look
context.
is it me or does her right hand look like AI? Like there's not enough fingers.
No, there's enough fingers. They just merge in a little bit
Oh,
with the
that's a
holy symbol.
glyph.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's a glyph. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, she's holding her holy symbol. You can kind of see them wrapped there.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep. No, I'd be disappointed if it was, but I think this image predates major AI generation. Uh
Yeah, it doesn't actually seem like it was.
yeah, yeah.
Other
PSA.
artists can actually screw up. It's not just AI.
PSA, don't use AI GMs or artwork. Be better.
Wait, don't use AI, comma GMs or don't use AI GMs.
I guess both.
I agree. I don't want to be out of a job,
Hmm.
so I don't want
And
people to
artists need
use.
work too. All right.
Man, it's going to be really frustrating when AI is creative enough, or if, to write a novel. That's going to bother the crap out of me.
Go listen to Brandon Sanderson's comments on that. He actually does he has like a 20-minute dissertation on it. It is fascinating. He does a
Okay,
really good job.
I
It's a
shall.
message that every creative should hear. It's
I
very nice.
I will listen.
All right. Combined essences, life and spirit for sorry, divine magic. What are the combined essences that go into divine magic? This is obviously the magic of the gods. Uh, the combined essences are life and spirit. So we are continuing around the circle. We still have the spirit from the occult, but now instead of mind, we are talking about life. Um, we are now talking about the faith in the metaphysical. This is not study. This is not something where you're trying to learn. You are trying to have faith and believe in powers greater than yourself. And it is specifically about the metaphysical aspects as opposed to the physical aspects of the universe.
I want to add something here that this doesn't have to have anything to do with gods.
No.
In our world, we have a concept of three planes, and this is also repeated in a multitude of religions, including Nordic. Um, there is, the lower plane, the upper plane, and our plane. And divine magic is the practice of aligning yourself with the upper plane and lower plane and connecting through all of them so that you yourself get embodied with divine magic. You're trying to align your spirit with the universe.
Hmm. That's cool. What happens if you're only aligned to one of the two? Does anything happen?
Yes, you can become ungrounded or really toxic.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, not cool, but you know what I mean. Interesting.
And I know this is probably TMI. I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. So, a sea witch taught me that the best, fastest way of grounding yourself after a ritual, or if you have too much of that high level energy, take a dump.
Oh,
It's the best way to feel grounded and release.
I mean, I could kind of see that that makes sense. Yeah, fair enough. So apparently, if you need to meditate, you know,
Yeah, there you go.
there you go.
Meditate on the porcelain throne.
There you go. So the features of divine magic. So divine magic, it is an intensely personal and emotional form of magic, and the reason for that is because divine magic, in the context of Pathfinder, is all about the acceptance of an external power and the willingness to accept that and channel it without fully understanding or knowing it, because it is so much greater or more complicated than you and your ability to understand. In divine magic as it exists within Pathfinder, the caster is kind of the tool or the conduit for the magic. They are not the wielder of the tool. They are the tool, and whatever the power is using them in a way. They can kind of direct it, kind of aim it, but they need to trust the power to like have faith in the power to do the thing without their complete control over it. Divine sources in this context do not necessarily have to be gods. They can be gods, but they can also be patrons. I'm capitalizing P here because I'm referring specifically to witches' patrons. They can also be curses in the case of the oracle. They can be lingering divine magic that remains in your blood if you're a sorcerer. They can be spirits. They can be these concepts that are bigger than you, that can be kind of vague and difficult to understand. And as strange as it might seem, the gods are kind of the easiest ones to understand because they are the most straightforward in most cases with what
Yeah,
they
they have a
say.
set of parameters.
Yep. I show Kira here the iconic cleric because it's Sarenrae. She has edicts and anathema. You know everything that she's about. She's very clear in what she wants. The further you get from those really like willing to show you who they are gods, the more difficult it is to understand. Now, but even Sarenrae, her understanding of the universe is so vast, and so her perspective is so great that Kira herself could never fully understand what Sarenrae wants from her or how her magic truly works or where it comes from. She can understand the goals of Sarenrae and understand how she can align herself to those goals and therefore use the magic, but it is not something that she could ever do of her own power or knowledge or understanding.
I want to jump in here and say that this is why modern day Wiccans and other pagans choose specific deities to represent on their altar because they're easier to connect to than just, I want this thing. No,
Mhm.
you pick Anubis because you want help getting over grief.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You're connecting to an understanding that you have, which is like this facet of this thing, because it is something. It is a way that you can open that kind of mental path. That makes total sense. So when we look at the classes that can connect with this, the most obvious is, of course, the cleric. You also have non-spell casting classes like the champion, but I'm referring specifically to the spellcasters here. So you have the cleric, which is your prepared divine spellcaster. They follow a god. They get spells from their god. They also are the best healers in the game because of healing font. They just are. You have the Oracle, which is curse bound. You are cursed with some kind of divine power, not necessarily from a god. It can be. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, you bear this horrible curse of magic, of divine magic within you, but you can channel that power into other things that are beyond how the curse would otherwise define you. And then you have the animist, and the animist is like bonding to these spirits that are greater than you that exist within the world. A good way to think of like the vastness of these spirits is, I really like what they did here. The animist apparitions, I'm saying spirits, the correct term in this mechanically is apparitions. The apparitions are uh they have these amazing, really cool, unknowable names. The crafter in the vault, the lurker in hidden places, like the monarch of the Fey court. Like they give you these just like the witches' patrons. They give you these impressions of these really big ideas, but they don't bind the idea in such a way that it could be understood. It's really well handled.
And it's again shamanistic. I could see one of those dwarves following an animus path easily.
100%. Yep. Cheat notes again. Now we get to the subclasses. Again, sorcerer, witch, and summoner. So for the sorcerer, we have a ton of them. I love all of them. They're great. My new favorite is the Aesir bloodline. It is the basically the Valkyrie bloodline. So cool, so
Yeah.
awesome.
It's
We have
strongly flavored Valkyrie.
yes, strongly favored. They've got that cool spear spell, that's cool spear
Hmm.
focus spell. Like, is it the most OP spell in the game? No, not by a long shot. It's a spell attack roll, but it's awesome. Uh, it's just cool. But then we have the angelic bloodline, and then of course, because we have the angelic, we also have the demonic and diabolic. I'm a little mad that we don't have one for each of the planes because we also have Psychopomp, which means we have four of the nine planes covered. I guess Aesir you could maybe argue is the Maelstrom, but that means we have at least four left. Like we
I
should
was thinking
totally
that too. I'm like, where's Daemonic? It's not
yeah,
there.
yeah. Where's Daemonic? Where's Arconic? Where's the I don't know what you would call the Azada I mean, you could just call it the Azada bloodline. Like where's that one? You know,
Sure.
where's the
Oh, Elysium, that would
Aeons?
be it.
Yeah, Elysium. Yeah, like where are those? Like those would be cool. You have the undead bloodline. Interesting to me that the undead bloodline is specifically divine when undead can be created by basically everything except primal magic. It's
Right. Psychopomp makes sense.
Psychopomp makes total sense. That one I'm fine with. The undead one is just weird to me that it's locked into divine. I could really see that one being arcane or occult, especially with
Yeah,
the
or
new.
Occult.
Yeah, so maybe that'll be updated in the future. But or like again, if you want to play an undead sorcerer who was from a or an arcane lich or something, talk to your GM. I don't think that's not a weird thing to. It's not going to break the power of the
No.
game. And then we have the Wyrmblessed bloodline, which is really cool. Have you heard of this one before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Wyrmblessed bloodline. It is so cool. It is from a part of the world where they worship dragons, so dragons are able to manifest like a holy, divine power. That one's really awesome. But then we get to the witches. The witches have some very fun patrons in the divine space. We have the choir politic, which is hearing like the many voices of your deity as like a harmonizing series of or not your deity, your patron, as like a harmonizing series of voices like a choir. You have the Faith's Flame Keeper, the first one they released that was divine. It's like a comforting flame. And then the Paradox of Opposites, that one's fun. I like to think of this one as like Nethys the god being like, I don't want a cleric, I want a witch working for me today.
Yeah. I like that. They could
Uh,
follow an aspect of him, like just call it the mask or something like that.
you could do so much with this one. It's so cool. And then you have the summoner. Obviously, you have the angel, the demon, and the psychopomp. Again, I want all the planes to have their summoned creatures for divine, but then we have undead again, and that one again is weird to me. So all of them are
I
fine.
it just
Uh,
feels weird that there's both Psychopomp and Undead and they're both divine.
Yep. Yeah. Psychopomp being divine makes total sense. The psychopomps are servants of Pharasma, the deity of death. I get that. But undead should probably be more broad in its categorization.
Yeah. It's a really clear argument for allowing a sorcerer that's undead to be able to choose arcane or occult.
Mhm. Or a summoner. Yeah.
Yeah, or summoner. Oh, and the
Uh
witch, I want to point out that the Faith's Flamekeeper is sort of the default healer witch.
yes, yep, it is the Healbot Witch. It does it pretty well. I don't
Yeah, I
think
was surprised how many temporary hit points it
yeah,
gives and
it
how
gives
much it
you some
matters.
decent temporary hit points. I don't think I would ever consider it like a healer that is on par with a cleric or a life oracle, but it is really
No.
good.
Yeah. Well, with the basic lesson of life for a witch,
Hmm.
you have infinite out of combat healing, but it's only out of combat, but it is still useful in combat.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you have that as a witch, that's the best a healer witch can be.
Yeah, yeah, and the witch brings a lot of other stuff to the table. You get all of the lessons, which are great. You can turn your
Yeah.
healer witch can still get access to that one needle spell that I
Needle,
forget.
Needle
Uh,
of Vengeance?
yes, Needle of Vengeance, and I'm like, that's just a good spell. Like you can do a lot with a healer witch that you can't do with a cleric. Cleric is still my favorite, but
Oh yeah, well they're the best. I've been trying to make something that competes for the cleric for healing, and I can't. They just get extra healing.
yeah, they're just so good at it. But in addition, so divine magic is the one where it's like, what associated beliefs are there with divine magic? Well, you can worship a god. So, there's
All of
that.
them. Yeah.
So literally all deities. But in specific, if you are interested in kind of understanding the mechanics of magic, again, you get to the deities of magic, Nethys, Yulral, Lasala, Nalinivati, Amaznan, Razmir. Razmir's funny for those of you who know why. Uh,
I love Razmir.
Razmir's so
I'm
great.
I actually plan on making I am already making a character for when the character that I'm currently almost about to play in a game dies. Yes, that's how much I love making characters, and I bet most of you relate to that.
Hmm.
Um, I am just wanting this character that I have made to be able to do every job, and so
Mm,
I'm plan on taking the Rasmirian priest just for the extra temporary hit points,
love it.
so it can be sort of an off healer.
I love it.
Rasmirian priest is such a fun
It's a
archetype.
good archetype. They did a good job with it.
Yeah.
And then, just like with Occult, we have the Rivathun and the Palatine Eye, the Esoteric Order of the Palatine Eye. Both of these they really are on. It's not that they're focused on like Occult and Divine specifically. I think of them as kind of rotating about that spirit essence and just kind of practicing both sides of it, the
Hmm.
mind side and the life side.
They probably wouldn't see them as different.
No, I don't think they do. Now, when you think about the planes that are associated with divine magic, the most obvious connection is, of course, all of the outer planes where the
The
gods
godly
live.
realms.
Yep, yep. So all of the outer planes are associated with divine magic, mostly because all of them play host to at least several divine forces. You've got all the celestial planes, heaven, hell, and Elysium, or sorry, heaven, Nirvana, and Elysium. You have the fiendish planes, hell, Abaddon, and the outer rifts, and then you have the neutral planes, uh, the Maelstrom, the Axis, and then the Boneyard. So all of those play host to multiple deities and other greater divine powers. Um, your divine powers, if you're an oracle, might just be a manifestation of the plane itself. Like your curse might have come from hell, or if you're a life oracle, maybe your curse came from Creation's Forge, which is the uh, positive energy plane. Like getting back to our topic of dragons, the divine dragons, a lot of them are manifestations of uh, the planes themselves. They're not manifestations of the power of a specific deity, it's of a plane. So I don't see why you couldn't make a character who is very much derives their power from a plane of existence that is infused with divine power rather than a deity.
And as I alluded to earlier, that concept fits perfectly with our reality.
Absolutely. And yeah, and the practices of magic in the real world. So that makes
Mhm.
makes sense. In terms of temples of, or excuse me, centers of learning for divine magic, obviously any religious temple and most philosophical temples in the
This
setting
is an
would work.
amusing slide.
Yeah, this
It's like
one's funny because it's like
everything.
what divinities? All divinities. What planes? Most of them. It's just the way divine magic works. But
Yeah.
there are a couple specific ones. So I say most religious temples, but there is the Temple of the Ten Doors, which is a specific Nethesian temple that focuses on the study of magic, which makes sense. He is the god of magic. If there was one, it would be him. So of course he has one of the greatest centers of learning. I think this one is in. It's not in Osirian. It is in Nex. I think this one's in Nex, which makes sense. That's the Mage Nation. But then we also have Windsong Abbey, which are you at all familiar with Windsong Abbey, Jake?
No, I was going to ask you.
This place is cool. So in Varisia, there is this abbey that called Windsong Abbey that has. They basically set it up as like, hey, we have a lot of competing religions out there. All of the gods are provably real because we can do magic when we pray to them. Let's all sit down and work together and see what understandings we can come to about the truths of the universe when we combine the teachings of all our deities. So deities or followers of all core 20 deities except Lamashtu and Rovagug, because they would just burn the place down, are they all live here and they all work together and they all try to figure out the hidden truths within all of their various mythologies. It
Wow.
is so cool. And you want to know the really cool thing that they did? All of the creation myths that we, the Pathfinder community, have gotten have been titled the Wind Song Testaments. They're
Oh,
in-universe reports that come from this abbey.
neat.
It's so cool. So like the battle with Rovagug, the story of creation, the betrayal of Ehis by his brother Asmodeus, like all of these stories were written down in universe by people who were here because they combined all of their teachings from their various religious texts and parables and they figured it out.
It reminds me of something that happened in the real world in the mid 1900s. Gardnerian Wiccans and a lot of other witches and Wiccans got together to form a council of witchcraft.
Mhm.
And they began discussing what was real and what were laws that they should follow. And there was so much arguing that the phrase bitchcraft was coined.
I love it. Oh, there's plenty of arguing at Windsong Abbey. There's a reason it is a dungeon in one adventure path.
Wow.
Things go south for a while there.
I can
Uh,
see that with the whole bitchcraft thing. There's going to be conflict.
it was an interesting. It's a very cool place. I like what they did with it. But now we are leaving the world of the metaphysical and getting back to the grounded reality of the physical. We are now talking primal magic, which is combining life. So again, we're going around that circle. We are leaving spirit behind and getting back to the world of matter. We still have life, but now we're combining it with matter for primal magic. The faith in the physical. We're not studying the physical like we were with Arcane. We are having faith in it, in these systems that are greater than us, that surround us, but that define the physical world.
I gotta say that in our reality, primal magic and divine magic are the same thing to most practitioners of magic.
Funnily enough, they are in first edition.
Yeah, okay.
First edition does not, druids are divine casters.
Oh, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. It
Mm-hmm.
just feels wrong now
It
because
feels
of
weird.
Pathfinder
Yeah, it
2.
feels weird now that we have the four
I'm like,
system.
what? No, of
But
course they're not. No,
yeah,
stop.
no, they are divine casters. Yep. So the features of primal magic. So primal magic is intensely cyclical. There are the cycles of nature that are studied and understood within the context of primal magic. You attune to the cycles of the world around you, and let that cyclical power flow through you in order to channel your magic. Primal casters try not to break these systems; they try to bend them to achieve the result that they want. The manipulation of, for example, a thermal cycle might allow you to raise the temperature in an area. The manipulation of a water cycle might let you bring down a rain. It is better not to go to a desert and summon a rainstorm. It's going to be really hard, and you're going to mess with stuff that you do not understand.
And this is probably the most basic Wicca. It's an earth religion. It's based on working with the systems and cycles and asking for what you need and trying to really just align yourself with what already exists. There's a lot of spiritual transformation in Wicca, even though Wicca doesn't need gods. The magical practices require that you uh, start to merge yourself with whatever your source of magic is. And for base Wicca, it's nature.
Hmm. And that, yeah, that's exactly what we're getting to here. So one of the interesting things is that there are two specific caster classes, or excuse me, two specific casters for Primal Magic. Those are the Druid and the Kineticist. And when you think of kind of like the sources of inspiration for the Druid and the Kineticist, the Druid is very clearly your standard D&D druid. You live in harmony with nature. You kind of do this, you do the whole cycle thing. You are kind of a guardian of the natural world. Generally speaking, you can play your character. That's the source of inspiration. The kineticist, on the other hand, is very clearly Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like
Yeah.
there are other sources of inspiration, but if you're describing a kineticist to somebody, you say you're the Avatar. Uh, and it's interesting because they bring two different perspectives. They take a very Western inspired approach to kind of primal magic, and one that is at least aesthetically much more Eastern influenced. And it's interesting to see that they've kind of put something together in their description of primal magic that fits, it kind of merges those two like sensibilities or kind of lenses through which the world can be viewed into one that kind of, to me at least, makes a lot of sense. Like the world is bigger than you, the energy is a part of you just as you are a part of the energy, and by directing the flow of energy of the natural world in your body or with your body, you can unleash it as magic that you can not control but aim.
And that is also the psychology that's required for the our real world practices of Reiki healing or Reiki alignment
Hmm.
and vampiric energy use
Okay.
that we covered in our vampire video.
Yep, I recall that. Yep.
So were you saying that the druid is more Western?
In the context of D&D, like
Okay.
in the context of the game, they're clearly drawing from a more Western interpretation of like a druid, meaning an old guy covered in moss living in the woods. I understand that what we might, the broader term of druidism applies to a lot of like practices throughout the entire world.
I was just wondering if you had meant some part of kineticist was Western. I was confused.
No, I was saying druid came from Western, kineticist came from Eastern. That's what
Gotcha.
I was trying to. Yeah. So then we get to the subclasses, and again, notes. So for the sorcerer, we have obviously the elemental bloodline. Obviously, there's the elemental planes. There are now six of them. Yay. So if you're related to one of those elementals, you draw your power from the elements. Obviously, you're a primal caster. We have two that are very similar: the Fey bloodline and the Nymph bloodline. Both of these are very similar. They give you access to some primal magic, but also both tie in some fey tricksteryness. So some illusions, some enchantments. Personally, I think the nymph is very slightly better, but they're so similar. They're both pretty cool. And then we have the Phoenix bloodline. Phoenix bloodline is, if I remember right, it's from Fist of the Ruby Phoenix. It's kind of something you can achieve by befriending Hao Jin, the Ruby Phoenix herself. It is basically primal casting with some cool. It's fire casting, but with cool healing stuff tacked on.
Yeah,
It's really cool. I like that bloodline a lot.
I do too. I like it better than Fey or Nymph, but if I chose sorcerer, it would be Hag because I love their focus spell.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, Jealous Hex is amazing.
But then we get to the witches. There are a lot of primal
Well,
witches.
it makes sense.
It
It's
makes
all about
sense. I'm just
nature.
surprised. Uh, so the ones that are very similar to me are the Wilding Steward, the Devourer, and the Devourer of Decay. Those two to me, thematically, they're different, but they do kind of vaguely similar stuff.
Okay.
Um, then we have the Whisper of the Wings, which is it's winged creature based. It's got some air stuff thrown in there. The Silence is in the Snow is your standard Winter Witch. It's not as good as the old Winter Witch, but nothing is as good as the old Winter Witch. It was great. Still kind of
There's a
upset about.
remake of the old Winter Witch in one of the links that I'll put in the description.
Good, good. I need to check it out. The Ripple in the Deep. I love that there is a Sea Witch. It is awesome.
Yeah.
I wish there was more
with
than one.
tentacles.
Yeah, it's cool. I wish there were more, but it's pretty cool. And then probably my favorite on here is the Mosquito Witch.
Yeah,
I think the Mosquito Witch is just so cool. It's so
it's a
powerful.
really powerful focus spell.
hmm and then we have the Summoner, the Beast Eidolon. Makes sense. It's a giant animal. The Elemental, again, makes sense. You're drawing an elemental from the elemental planes. The Fey Eidolon, if you want your Eidolon to be another caster, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really
Uh,
fun.
my personal favorite of all of the Eidolons, the Plant Eidolon, because I want my Eidolon to be 15 feet big and just grabbing stuff and holding them so the marshals can hit them. Great. And then the Swarm Eidolon, which I am really glad we have a Swarm Eidolon now. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it was necessary. It
hmm
fits so well with a summoner.
It's such a great niche that is now filled.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the links that I'm putting in the description also shows you how to get a mythic destiny of becoming the worm that walks.
Yes. Yes. We need that. We need more Mythic Destinies in general, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, uh, let's say you're playing a primal character or just a character with a connection to primal magic in general. What kind of additional things might your character be associated with? So, obviously, there are several religions that are associated with primal magic. Most obviously, the Green Faith. The Green Faith is kind of the in-universe, very broad term. They would in universe they would probably use a more specific term or a like regional term.
Yeah.
They might call it, I'm not saying this is the weird, but I could see them having a phrase like the weird, WYRD, to describe this. Kind of depends on what that's something your GM could make up. But yeah, the Green Faith is kind of just druidism, but I'm sure, Jake, you have a more nuanced take on how you would describe it.
I do, but you're right. I mean, it's basically just druidism because there's so many different deities. Like, I think that the people that are in world that would follow the green faith, like you said, wouldn't call it the green faith.
hmm
They might say that as dumbing it down for someone else. Like,
hmm
instead of saying, I'm a trad witch, or I'm a familial witch, or I'm an Asatru pagan, they
hmm
would say, I'm green faith because it's
hmm
easier to explain. They would just say,
Yep.
I'm Wiccan.
hmm
Um,
Or like I follow the old way. It's just like I say green faith because everybody here knows what that means.
right.
hmm
And so it's like saying Wicca in our world if you follow a specific subset of Wicca. So
hmm
I think that the people that follow the green faith would have their own explanations for it. Like,
Yep.
um, I'm mostly a fruit and flower mage,
hmm There you go.
something like that.
hmm Yeah. It's like when I'm describing my musical taste, it's like I'm a metalhead. I don't need to get into the fact that I like power metal with speed metal influences. No one knows what that means.
Right. And I might say I follow the green man because
hmm
it's just sort of a general, I follow nature and deities and I like oak trees. They're cool.
There you go. Got it. So in addition to the Green Faith, we have several other options. The Rivathun are back because of course they are, because I love the Rivathun. They're everywhere. They love nature spirits just like they love all other kinds of spirits. So they're pretty cool with that. We have, of course, nature-themed deities. Most famously, Gozra, the wind, the kind of bi-gender wind in the waves. The wind is Gozra, is he, the wind, the storm, and the waves is, she who carries the tides. I really like Gozra.
Gozra follows the elemental and gender correspondences that Wicca follows.
Yes, and it actually doesn't it follow like a couple other like a lot of like ancient, especially Near Eastern religions have like the Sky Father and like the Ocean Mother. Sometimes it's the Earth Mother.
Yeah, and
Um,
native practices in America too.
yeah, it's very common theme all across.
Yeah.
There are many others. One that I want to highlight is Heifeng. Heifeng is the thunder god. He's the thunder and lightning god in the Tian mythology. He's also a Tengu. Um,
Wait, isn't that pronounced Fang?
I think it's, but well, you could pronounce it Feng. When I saw it most recently, it was pronounced Feng by the author, and she said like feng shui.
Okay.
So, but
I
I don't think there's a wrong way. It,
I met a dentist who spelled her name that way, and she said her name was Dr. Fang.
well, it might be, and it might be because they're from different regions. Maybe different.
Oh, I didn't think
Obvious.
of that. Yeah, that's possible.
hmm So I'm sure in universe, Heifeng has many different local regional pronunciations.
I'm sorry I
But
interrupted. I really wasn't just trying to say, actually.
no, no, it's a good question. Again, I don't know if my pronunciation is right either, but Heifeng is awesome. He he's a drunken brute, but he also loves music and partying, and is like super nice when he's in a good mood. But then he gets it in a temper, and he's a thunderstorm. Uh,
God, talk about a Tanuki god.
He's great. He has his four buddies, who have all they're the dukes of, hang on, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. The four counts. That's what it is. And they've all sworn this oath to one another. It's like the everlasting oath of undying friendship. And I want to play a party that is these four guys. Like
Yeah.
they're super cool. He also is a terrible. Heifeng is a terrible husband and is the only god that I know of that is divorced. Uh,
Zeus should have been.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then we also, getting a little more niche, we also have Mother Vulture, who is a deity of decay and rot, brackets good. Like as a not as like decay and rot like you see with Nimbleoth, where it's like all must be decayed with no room for regrowth. It's like, no, no, this is how you make new growth, you know. And messing with the cycle is actually a really bad thing.
And using decay, I like the aspect of her that is just the use of decay because she's a vulture
Hmm.
and vultures eat rotten food. They
Hmm.
are scavengers that help the world reprocess itself.
Yeah, Mother Vulture is awesome. We also have deities of agriculture. So, most famously, we have Erastil, the god of the hunt. He's one of the few gods who is married and has kids. His wife is Lady Jaidi. She is a goddess of specifically farming. So, like, she's a goddess of grains and like farm, specifically staple crops. And then we have Ketifis, the elven god of forestry and the hunt. And then we also have all of the elemental lords, of which there are many. There are two for each element, so we're up to 12 now, one good and one evil for each element.
I gotta say, I like that Pathfinder 2 now has so many freaking deities.
Yeah,
It's
they
like
had a lot
ancient
back in
Egypt.
1E, but they've really done a good job of fleshing out the lesser known. Like it's over the
Mhm.
years, they've done a great job.
In
Y-
paganism, you have a wealth of deities to choose from, and so moving into a role-playing game in second edition D&D, I was like, okay, so I can choose one of six deities.
mhm.
That's weird.
Yeah, they did a good job. Like they've got your core 20, which covers a lot of ground, but if you're willing to get more niche, like if you have a character concept, there is a deity for it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Hmm.
All right,
All
please go
right.
ahead. Sorry, you're
So,
recording.
primal magic, unsurprisingly, is associated with several planes. Most obviously, the six elemental planes.
What's an
Uh,
elemental plane,
what's an
Phil?
elemental? Well, let me tell you. So, the Pathfinder universe is structured thusly. You have the inner planes, which are the material plane where people live. The And then on either side of that, you have the first world and the netherworld. I'll get to the first world in a minute. Netherworld is the shadow plane, and then outside of those, kind of sandwiching them together, are the Creation's Forge, new word for the positive plane, and the Void, new word for the negative plane. Those kind of pour their energies toward the material plane. So the like transitional planes that are closer to them, like the first world is more positive, the netherworld is more negative. Intertwining all of these are the ethereal plane, the plane of the ghosts. Then those are the inner planes. There's also the outer planes, which is where the gods live. Your heavens, your hells, yada yada yada. But between those, though, the inner and the outer is the shell, and the shell is these concentric planes that protect the inner plane from the energies of the outer plane and prevent the gods from messing with everything, more than they already do. Uh, and the shell is the elemental planes. So in, oh boy, hang on, can I get the order right? I don't think I can. Uh, Innermost, I want to say is fire, but I think I already got that wrong. Maybe it's outermost is fire. But you have the six of them. You have fire, air, water, earth, metal, and wood. And they are concentric spheres. So they board each of them borders up against at least one other one. The innermost of the innermost four border on two of them. And where they interact with each other, you get like these crossover planes. But each elemental plane is it's a manifestation of the element that it's named after. Surprise, surprise. So the fire plane, it's fire. Everything. It's fire and lava and plasma and all that cool stuff.
Even the fire is on fire.
Even the fire is on fire. It's all like the deities that live there are fire deities. The spirits that live there are fire spirits. The airplane, it's a big empty sky full of clouds, and so there's some floating islands and stuff for people to live on. And where it borders up against the plane of water, there's like these like it's not quite a plane of ice, but it's like this almost plane of ice. Um, but it used to be that there were four planes. It used to be that there was the standard water, earth, fire, and air. However, as Pathfinder has kind of evolved narratively, they wanted to incorporate the two elements because that are the two elements that are traditionally thought of in East Asian cultural practice, those being wood and metal. They don't consider air an element. They have five: wood, metal, um, fire, earth, and water. How do you do that when you already have a plane of air and you don't have two other planes? Well, you just say, those other two planes were hidden because the elemental lords had a big fight. So now the two elemental planes are back. So now we have six. Uh,
Surprise!
Surprise! But it's great because now we can have kineticists that can shoot wood blasts and metal blasts and
And I
uh,
also love that the plane of metal is really close to the plane of water because then we get like a quasi-elemental plane of rust.
it's great. Yeah. Yeah. The rust elemental plane, or the rust, like, portion of the elemental plane of metal is cool. The elemental plane of metal also has associations with alchemy, which is super cool. Like, one of the
Yeah,
metal
like Mercury.
lords, one of the elemental lord deities of metal is an alchemist. It's super cool. It's fun stuff. Also, the metal genies have their own culture. They have their own form of music, which is specifically described as discordant and loud. And I'm like, yes, we have heavy metal in universe. It exists. We have electricity and manipulatable electricity in Ustalav. We are not far away from power metal bands in universe.
I could see this and have a concert with alchemist fire breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the Stasian technology, like with the Tesla
Yeah.
coils and stuff, you could totally do it.
Yes.
Yep. And we
And like
have
you're wearing one of those big metal suits and you're playing Iron Man being electrocuted with the Stacing coils.
Yes, exactly. You could do so much with this. You also have humans from Earth in like the 19 teens who would be vaguely familiar enough with musical tradition that you could independently derive heavy metal eventually. Uh, they're
That's
up in
neat.
Irison. It's great. Uh,
I had not thought about along that line. That's fun.
Yeah, it's great. Uh, Now, yeah, in addition to the six elemental planes, you also have the first world, which is it's the world of the Fae. In the Pathfinder universe, the Fae live in their own little place. They can cross over into the material plane all the time. They do it frequently, but they do have a plane that they actually come from. And the first world was basically the first draft of creation when the gods decided to create reality. Or let me rephrase that: when the gods decided to create the material plane where life would exist. They took a first stab at it in the first world where they were figuring out, like, hey, how much gravity should these worlds have? How should time work? How should weather cycles work? So the first world has like all these pockets where nothing works the way it's supposed to. Gravity is inconsistent, time is inconsistent, the weather's all messed up. It's because it was literally the first draft, or it was the prototype world where they were messing with stuff, and then rather than destroy it, they just left it there and went and started over.
I
Uh,
love that it's proof that the gods are not perfect.
oh yeah, yeah, no, they're not even close to perfect, especially because they just left all of their little creations, all the Fae there, and some of the Fae got so strong and accumulated so much power that they ascended to divinity and became the eldest.
And the gods are like, "Oh, we forgot about
Ah,
them."
crap. Whoops. And then, of course, we have the material plane. Like, all the planes are associated with different magics. The material plane is the one that's the most primal because that's where all the primal magic happens. If one magic were to be defined if there was only one magic available on the material plane, it would be primal magic.
Yeah.
If there was only one that the plane could manifest, it would be that one.
It seems like that's the place that primal magic originated, and all the other magics originate from somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like it. This in terms of centers of learning, I don't know as many of them. The two that I know of for sure are the Magambia, again, the
Yeah.
primal slash arcane grad school in central Mwangi Expanse. But then we also have the Verduran Forest, which is the biggest forest in Avestan. It used to be a lot bigger. The way to think about this is like it is the Druid kingdom. There's not really a kingdom. The Druid nation in Avestan. It is this ancient forest that has existed since before anybody can remember. It used to cross all of like southern Avestan, and it has been slowly logged away over the centuries. A good analog is the Mirkwood from Lord of the Rings, or the Fangorn Forest from Lord of the
Mm,
Rings.
okay. So the Verduran Forest is only a center of learning in that druids live there?
Well, there is a yes, but there is actually like a conclave of druids that meets all the time. They're like regular. There are like annual meetings. I think it's called. No, it's not the Torrent Moot. It's a different kind of moot. But there's a moot there that happens like every year or every couple years, and it is considered one of the greatest druidic moots in all of Avestan. Like this is where you go to like exchange practices, discuss druidism, discuss broader topics related to primal magic. It is, it is because druids live there, but it's also a place where like the primal magic is strong. There's lots of ley lines that connect here. Like the Verduran forest is connected to the plane of wood. Like there's strong lasting tradition there. So there's a lot of different ways where druidic practice is really like honed and understood very well within that region.
Okay. I think I'd like to add something to that from my own experience.
Hmm.
And uh, please, everyone, take this as just a suggestion and what I would do. Um, because I've spent time in a lot of different Wiccan circles, general pagan circles, and also with Arnriak Fane and Obod. Arnriak Fane and Obod are druids. The Wiccans and pagans are generally Wiccan. So they're different sets of faiths. Wicca has a basis of magic that you can include deities in. Druid has a basis of deities and spirituality that you can include magic in. So I would see that the Verduran Forest druids are more scholarly, more mature, and more, I suppose, worldly in their selections of what they believe in and practice
Mm-hmm.
than somebody who is an arcane caster or an occult caster. Like the Verduran Forest people would be like the wise old arcane-like sages
Mm.
of primal magic.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That would make a ton of sense. Have you read what's the nature campaign? Hang on. It's Wardens of Wildwood. Have you had a chance to read that one yet?
Oh, only bits and pieces and all the player-facing stuff. I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah, because that is set in the Verduran Forest. It is the Verduran Forest
Ah,
campaign.
all right,
So
cool.
if you like Primal Magic, that's a good one to check out. I think Spore War is slightly better, but they're both Spore War is better, but Wardens of Wildwood definitely has its strong points.
I think that Spore War, I liked how much magical weirdness there was,
Hmm.
and the Wardens seem much more grounded, martial, and elvish.
Well, Spore War should be more elvish because it's set in Keonan, but
Okay,
the other one is more fey. Wardens of Wildwood is more feyish, kind of.
okay.
So now we're getting away. So we've now covered all the magical traditions, and we are actually going to move away a little bit and talk about all of the other not official, so to speak, magical theories that exist on Galarian. So obviously, on Galarian, there's a lot of debate about how all of this stuff works. And over the many, many, many millennia of Galarian's existence, there have been a lot of different magical theories to kind of frame an understanding of magic that maybe does or doesn't fall within like the four traditions, takes advantage of some essences, doesn't really talk about others. So we're going to kind of talk about some of those here. The one that I am most familiar with, unsurprisingly for anybody who's seen anything about my channel, is Thessalonian rune magic.
No
So
way.
I know it's amazing. Um, so Thessalonian rune magic is a theory of specifically arcane magic. Technically, it applies to all magic, but it was practiced by arcane practitioners. Um, Basically, Old Lord Zin, ancient wizard guy, really smart, decided, wait a minute, every time we cast magic, these little runes appear, these symbols in a language that we don't understand. What if I studied those? And somehow no one before him had thought about this. Uh, to be fair, this was a long time ago. Uh, but he was like, wait, if we learn to read these, maybe we could figure something out. And he basically like went around and studied magic outside of ancient Aslant, which is where he grew up. It's kind of the Atlantis analog. And he figured out like, wait a minute, the elves know really important stuff about magic. The Varisians, the Shoanti, like they all do it differently than us, but their magic is still working. And he kind of started to piece together this language of magic, kind of the way the runes work. They work as kind of like a source code that you can work through and kind of directly program your spells. Um, Historically, this was the excuse for why there are 8 schools of magic. Like Zin had actually, back in first edition, Zin had stumbled upon a actual mechanical thing that underlied or that like really underpinned all of reality. All magic fell into the 8 schools of magic. We have moved beyond the open gaming license in the post remaster era. So now we no longer have the 8 schools of magic. However, the runes still work. The runes are still a thing within the universe. They just no longer reflect a really firm 8 schools of magic delineation. There are disadvantages to using the runes. All the runes are associated with specific corruptions. He uses the word sins. It's not necessarily religious, it's more demonic corruptions. Like in the context of Pathfinder, like actual demons, the capital D demons, not evil spirits associated with religion. Um, so like the rune of enchantment makes you very prone to fall to the sin of lust. The rune of illusion makes you very prone to the sin of pride. And that's one of the reasons that rune magic, as it was practiced in the olden days, kind of fell apart. Is because all of the casters became so corrupted that their empire basically fell to corruption. It's a very like classic tragedy style story. Um, but the modern practices are emphasizing like, no, it's not just sins, it's not just virtues. It's a mix that you can like choose to emphasize or not emphasize. And yeah, it's interesting. I like what they did with it.
I can totally see the runes being used to still delineate specific powers of magic without
Hmm.
calling them schools. It seems perfectly fine to me to still say, this one means bones.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and really the schools of magic were only the 8 core runes, or excuse, the 7 core runes, because technically the 8th one never existed, yada yada yada. But if you want those, check out my little logo that I use for my avatar. It's got all 7 of them plus the unifying Sihedron. But we also, another one that is very fun is shadow casting. So, what is shadow casting? Shadow casting is using the power of shadows and specifically the power of the netherworld to strengthen your connection to the concept of darkness and give you greater power over it. You basically give up your ability to cast light spells and your connection to light in general to varying degrees in order to gain greater control over shadows and powers associated with shadows. So some things associated with void, some things associated with cold. But you basically channel the power of the netherworld, which is the new word for the plane of shadow, which is the plane between the material plane and the void. Um, and you get the ability to manipulate perception. You get the ability to obscure yourself, see through shadows, hide in shadows as though you had greater cover, etc., etc. In the old first edition stuff, Shadow was busted as all hell because you could cast Shadow Evocation, Shadow Conjuration,
Oh,
or
that, yeah.
yeah, you could. The Shadow Oracle was one of the most busted working as intended builds in the game. I'm not counting the Painter Wizard because that was not working as intended. Uh, the Shadow Oracle was working as intended, and you were a spontaneous caster that had access to basically a third of the spell list at any time. It was very strong. Um, but yeah, related to this, we have the Shadowcaster archetype, but we also have the Shadow Dancer archetype for those of you martials out there who might want to add a little shadow magic without having to deal with any spell casting. I did forget to mention that Thessalonian Rune Magic also has the Rune Lord archetype in Rival Academies. Good stuff.
which we covered and is a
We
lot of
did
fun.
cover in depth. Yeah. Uh, a goofier one that we don't have an archetype for yet, but I'm hoping we get someday. Electrothaumaturgy and Aromantic Infidibulum. I had to practice those words.
Great word.
Yes, yes. So what is this? We don't know. We
What?
don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know how it worked. Uh, so there were many ancient societies, of course, in the Pathfinder universe. One of them were the Shori. If you've ever seen Laputa Castle in the Sky, you get the Shori. They have these ancient flying cities that flew all over the planet. And this was their thing, their electrothaumaturgy and aromantic infidibulum. This was the thing that powered it all. They used Aeon Stones as batteries. Again, we don't really have a mechanic representing what that looks like. And then they also had very advanced clockwork. They are the source, the Shori are the source of the automatons. The automaton race came from the Shori. This was their attempt at like life preservation, was putting their souls into these little cores that now exist in the center of the automaton bodies.
That's a lot of fun.
It's
And
super
that's
cool.
also one of the theories about real world Atlantis, that they were like these people.
Yeah, this is very much being inspired by some versions of Atlantis.
I want to touch on the previous two theories
Mm-hmm.
when you're done with the electrothaumaturgy and
Oh no, I'm
aromantic
done with it now. Like
infundibulum.
I'm good. I'm good.
Infundibulum sounds like it should be some part of your body.
I agree. It should be next to the tibia and the fibula.
Right. I was thinking frenulum, but whatever, it's just a word I like. Okay, so shadow casting is in our world used primarily, in my experience at least, by people who think of themselves as vampires
Mm,
or energy vampires, because they seem to feel a natural inclination or closeness with darkness. And
mm-hmm.
so they use dark energy a lot. Now, can they actually create light or darkness in our world? Yes, by turning on a light or snuffing a candle. So,
Mm.
no, not really, but that's the way they feel. They feel closer to darkness and shadow. And so they even use some of this to cloud their own mind, to mess with their memories, which
Mm.
is probably just a cerebral function that we have access to anyway, or to try to cloud other people's minds. Also, to practice pyrokinesis. I have heard a story or two about people that can actually do pyrokinesis. I don't know. I wasn't there. But that would follow shadow casting as well. Um, so the Thessalonian rune magic, though, rune magic and glyphs in general are used so much in Wicca and paganism. So aside from Nordic runes, the Satru practices, there's also Theban script, witch runes, and there are magical runes and letters and words from a lot of different cultures, and people create their own script, their own runes to represent what they wanted to represent, or to put to write in their book of shadows in a certain code so nobody else can see it. So words are used a lot in magic circles. And the shadow casting I find interesting because I don't really know of anyone who practices shadow work and actually means shadow magic.
Hmm.
Shadow work is usually I'm dealing with my negative impulses and my psychology that's harmful for me.
Mm.
That's their own
It's
shadow.
shadow as a metaphor.
Right.
Hmm.
Um, and the electro, those are just great words.
Yes, they're fantastic. I really
Just
hope
something
we
like,
get a Shori adventure path so we can explore this.
well, no, there is a Oh, what is it? Damn, I don't remember the name of the AP. There's one that touches on it that has some
Doesn't
sort
Stolen
of
Fate go there?
necrom. Uh,
Doesn't Stolen Fate go to like some old Shori temple?
it does, yes.
Okay, but that's not the one you're talking about.
No,
Okay.
it's one that came out more recently. I forget the name of it, but it involves necromancy and machines that help you do necromancy.
Oh, cool.
Oh God, what is it?
Is
Oh
it Bloodlords?
no, no, it's not
Oh, okay.
Bloodlords. Ah, I don't remember. I'll
It's
have
not
to.
Outlaws of Alkenstar. That has some
No, it's not Elves of
okay.
Alcastar.
You said
I'll have to
machinery.
put in the
I had
description.
to think about it at least.
Man, what is that? Anyway, so I know that they have, but my point was just that in that AP they barely touch on it. So yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
still need more.
Yeah, we need more. I want my Castle in the Sky adventure path. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, it really would. I agree. Oh, there's also a floating pyramid in Osirian,
Yes. Yep, that is in it's the Osirian
Pathfinder
AP.
1.
The first edition Mummy's Mask.
Yeah.
Yep. And they open up more floating pyramids as like an after the campaign option. Because they stole those from the Shori.
Oh, okay,
That's
cool.
where they got their floating pyramid tech.
So
Hmm.
that's the closest I know of that Pathfinder 2 has done with Shori, just those two things.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get their story someday in a lot more detail. I want an
Yeah.
automaton AP.
Dude, that'd be cool.
That'd be so cool.
You know what? I think it's most likely that it's going to happen in Starfinder.
I could see that. Yeah. Automatons would be really cool in Starfinder.
Yeah. They need to be Terminators. We need some liquid metal.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Oh, a
All right.
Kappa! Yay, Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. All right. We also have other theories. One of these is so a lot of the ones I'm going to list now are relating to specific archetypes within the game or options that you can do that aren't related to archetypes. So the first is cathartic magic. This is the idea that intense emotion fuels or alters your spell casting. There is the cathartic mage archetype, and you've already mentioned like this intense willpower and intense emotion as something that can feed into spellcasting. The cool thing about cathartic mage archetype is that it can bolt on to a bunch of different spellcasters and give all of them this like strong emotional flavor. You trigger an emotional state and then gain bonuses and special abilities based on the emotional state that you're in. It's pretty cool and it can apply to a lot of different things.
I want to add to that that cathartic magic can also be applied to relics.
Mm,
Uh, there are a lot of emotion relic seeds that you could use if you want to, or relic aspects.
hmm yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The next one is elementalism. So, this is the idea that you can be a primal or arcane caster. So, this is very related to the matter essence, who focuses specifically on how the six elements or whatever your element system that you like exist within, or like your philosophy exists within, how those elements kind of interact with the world and kind of the cycle that it builds within you. So you gain access to a different spell list, which is basically just like a subset of the primal and arcane spell list that's just the elemental aligned spells. Um, and yeah, that's your spell tradition. You can gain access to primal spells and an arcane caster that aren't normally on your spell list, but then you lose a lot of like the illusion stuff, the mental stuff, yada yada yada. It's a decent archetype if you want to play that type of character.
Yeah, but you really have to want to play that type of character. It's
Oh
mainly
yeah.
for that.
Yep. Yep. It's what if my spellcaster had a lot of the limitations that the kineticist had without a
Yeah.
lot of the benefits. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a spellcasting kineticist. You're right.
Basically, yeah. Yep. Then we get geomancy. This one it was hard for me to kind of get a grip on.
It's
Um,
weird.
it's weird. Yeah, you're kind of like a oh, how do I describe this? You have a connection to your immediate surroundings. The way I think of it is I played a geomancer in Final Fantasy 3. Uh, you can do magical effects that are related to your immediate environment. You attune yourself to the stuff that's around you, and then you get the ability to manipulate it. So if you're on the ocean, you can do stuff related to waves. If you're in the woods, you can do stuff related to trees. If you're in the desert, you can do stuff related to heat and sand. It's kind of like making any applicable spellcaster into a very localized druid.
And you really need to talk with your GM before you choose geomancy
Oh
because
yeah.
what your abilities are depends strongly upon the terrain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. It can be super fun if everybody in the party is cool with it.
Hmm.
Because otherwise it's going to be a bit of a pain and you are either going to be really strong or really weak. Most often
Yeah.
really weak.
Yeah, you'll lose your actions too.
Yep. Then we have true naming. Anyone who has read a lot of fantasy novels, you've heard this before. You hear a character's name, or you understand a character's true name, not their given name, but their true name that perfectly encapsulates who they are and what they do. And you gain a level of control over that person. It might be like true control, but it also might just be you can compel specific behaviors or cause pain or et cetera, et cetera. And it can be used in fiction. It is often used like I know the name of this broader concept and I gain power over it. A good
Yeah.
example is the Aragon books. You learn Brisingr, the word for fire. You can cast fire magic. If you do the name of the wind and if you've read the name of the wind and you know the name of the wind, you can control the wind to do things for you, assuming you can remember the name. Um, but like this is a lot more specific. It's the names of specific people within the context of Pathfinder. The broader idea of true naming does exist within the fiction, but it has never been described in the mechanics in second edition. There was an
Hmm.
idea that kind of played with it in first edition, but it wasn't super fleshed out.
Interesting. I didn't know that there wasn't much detail to it at all.
There's very little. Yeah,
Well,
it
then
gets like
I.
it gets like a page and a half in Secrets of Magic. So
Oh, oh, I read that. I just didn't
yeah,
realize that that's all there was.
that's basically it. Back in first edition, there was a
Okay.
little bit more. I'm stretching a little bit because I'm kind of mixing it with the my interpretation of the rules for building your own spells from first edition. I always viewed that through the lens of true naming, but that might also be because I view magic mostly through the lens of rune magic, which is very similar to true naming. So,
It is.
mhm.
And if you're familiar with the Illumians of 3.5 D&D, they had runes that were the uh, magical syllables that created life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
True
Or if
names
you've
in.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No.
Or if you've played Skyrim, the Draconic language, because that's how that worked.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Skyrim.
Uh, you know Vus, you can throw people with your voice, and then if you know Vus Ro, you can throw them further, and if you know Vus Ro Da, you can throw them all the way across the map. It's great, funny every time.
That does sound like fun.
It's funny, yeah.
Uh,
Okay. And then, of course, the greatest of the theories, Razmir. He just everything about Razmir breaks all the laws, breaks all the rules. He just kind of does what he wants. Um, Razmir's great. Go watch our video on cults to kind of understand what his deal is. It's interesting. He's
I
hilarious.
I love the idea of Razmir being in this system because Razmir embodies a pagan concept that the practitioner is God.
He
And
definitely fits the title perfectly, or fits that
yeah,
idea perfectly. More than any
well,
other character, except maybe Aradin.
terms like awakened or evolved are often used as well to signify that in our world you're somebody like Razmir, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who has uh, access to divine power, divine authority, and can change
Mm,
reality at will, and
mm-hmm.
also that you can recognize that in other people,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could
which
see that.
is one reason that some Wiccans use the word namaste. It's supposed to mean the divinity in me recognizes the divinity in you, but it's
Mm,
almost exclusively used. I shouldn't say exclusively because I don't know all different cultures of Wicca. In my experience,
mm-hmm.
it's been almost exclusively used by people who think of themselves as gods, and they're
Mm,
trying to say that they recognize that this other Wicca practitioner is also a god on the same level as them.
mm. Okay, interesting.
And true names in Pathfinder 2 and in other games are used to have more power over summoned beings that have an essence that is not natural to the material plane. So like angels and
Yes.
demons.
Yep. Yeah. Angels, demons, and also genie, historically. Like,
Genie.
yeah, elementals specifically have been vulnerable to that.
I didn't think of the elemental aspect. That's a good point.
Hmm.
Uh,
Now I'm also noting an obsolete theory, and this is where I get to talk about the weirdness that is first edition. So back in first edition, it is now referred to in universe. I love that they do this as three division theory. The four essences of magic, because of retcons, have existed. Not essences, excuse me. The four traditions of magic have existed as like a framework within the universe of Galarian for quite a long time, but that's a retcon. Like they didn't exist until 2019, which is 4719. But now they've existed for centuries. The old interpretation of it was that there were, for a long time, back in when first edition wasn't even first edition, when it's three and a half or three and three quarter, it would have been called two division theory because there was only divine and arcane. Eventually, they realized that was dumb and they added psychic magic and they just called it psychic magic. So then it became three division theory, divine, arcane, and psychic. And psychic was everything introduced in occult mysteries. So the psychic, the mesmerist, the occultist, all these classes that got merged into other classes now in second edition. This now exists in universe as three division theory. It is considered bunk. It is a theory that no one really prescribes to other than to study it for like, ooh, where did they go wrong? What did they used to think?
that
But
would be fun to bring up in character.
oh, totally fun to bring up. Like if you're playing a wizard, who's like, no, my thesis was on like ancient magical things. Like
Like studying Sanskrit.
I study three division theory and thaumaturgy and aromantic infundibulum.
Oh, that's awesome. And all of the players are just like, huh?
Yeah,
I have
it'd be
something to add to
great.
true names if you're done with
Yes. Hmm.
obsolete theories. Okay, so true names. Um, this concept is used by modern day Wicca practitioners and other pagans, um, in that they choose a craft name that is
Mm-hmm.
used only in circle,
Hmm.
but usually they choose at least two craft names. So they have their birth name and then their public craft name and their private craft name. Their
Okay.
private craft name is only used by themselves when they're alone to empower themselves or to sanctify their space and cleanse their objects. So
Okay.
it's their secret name that they often say is given to them by the deities or by themselves. And that is the personality or name that they use to interface or talk with deity.
Okay. Yeah.
So that inside craft name, that inner craft name, functions as their true name. They don't tell
Okay.
anyone about it.
Hmm.
And if they want to do a spell for themselves, they use that true name.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And like my outer craft name was Mandrake.
Okay.
So I would just introduce myself as that, but that wouldn't be my inner
Yeah.
in
Yep.
circle private craft name.
They do something similar in have you ever read the Jonathan Stroud Bartimaeus trilogy fantasy novels?
Never heard of it.
Bartimaeus trilogy is fantastic. So it's about it's a magical world. It's our world, but it has magic. So like
Cool.
it takes place largely in London. It is a young boy can summon jinn, the genies, and there are multiple levels of genies, but he's very very good. He's very talented, and he grows up in a society that can do this. It's like the world is governed by people who can do this. So he's
Oh, okay.
formally trained and all that. And they have their secret names because if a jinn knows their actual name, the jinn has power over them. And the
Okay.
main characters are this boy and then the demon that he summons in the first book. It's a jinn. They use multiple different terms, but the jinn that he summons in the first book, Bartimaeus, and Bartimaeus. Minor spoiler alert: Bartimaeus very quickly learns the boy's real name and has power over him, but the boy also has power over Bartimaeus. So then they have to kind of bargain with each other to get out of the situation that they found themselves in. And
Interesting.
the boys' book portions of the book are written in very like traditional, like conventional third person narrative. Uh, Bartimus's chapters are written in third person, but Bartimus himself has made footnotes in first person. So it's all of his smarmy commentary about the entire story.
Wow, that's cool. That's fun.
They're super good. I would highly recommend them. They are fantastic. They skew more young adult than fantasy, but they're very, very good.
Young adult can be a lot of fun to read.
Yeah, yeah.
Animorphs.
Also Animorphs. All right. So we have now finished out all of the magical theories that I am aware of. There are many more that exist, but I've kind of briefly read about some more, but this is the ones I know. So now I just wanted to close out with some notes on a few notable magical scholars. Obviously, this is not exhaustive. Any archwizard in the game is a magical scholar. There's a friggin' magical scholar that lives on the sun because he doesn't like people and he wanted to move away. I don't
But
know
it's
much
so
about.
bright.
Yeah, I don't know much about him other than that he's a wizard who moved to the sun. How much more do you really need to know? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, true.
so historically, there are several uh, mages and archmages who are especially worthy of note. The most famous and most important of which I have noted here, Old Mage Jatembe. He's the one in the picture. So Old Mage Jatembe was the guy who founded magical scholarship after Earthfall, after society collapsed when a giant meteor basically sent everybody back to almost the Stone Age. The Age of Darkness showed up, and magic basically died out as a practice, a formal studied practice. You could worship the gods and stuff. But Old Mage Jatembe basically refounded wizardry and druidism as a concept.
Is he
Uh,
still alive?
yes, he is. He vanished, and he is not officially like recognized by anybody. Like no one knows where he is. He doesn't introduce himself as Old Mage Jatembe, but he is around. We have official artwork of him hanging out with Baba Yaga. The, they party in a and by party I mean they drink tea together in a restaurant in Opara.
Ooh,
Uh,
calm down, guys.
yeah, well, they're both like several thousand years old, so that's as partying as they get. But yeah, Old Mage Jatembe is one of the few people who can fight Baba Yaga. He's basically the only person she respects at this point,
Oh, okay.
including the gods. Like she doesn't respect the gods, she respects Old Mage Jatembe.
That's neat.
Yeah, they actually get along really well.
I
Um,
think that when you're that power level, then what you respect or appreciate just depends on personality of the other
mhm,
person, not their power or what they affect or what they represent, but
mhm.
who they are when they hang out with you.
Yep, and the fact that Old Mage Jatembe is self-made, like he did it all himself. He created this power for himself and discovered it on his own in a mirror of what Baba Yaga did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The next one I know the most, or the one I know the most about it is, of course, Old Lord Zin, the founder of Rune Magic. Zin was born in ancient Aslant, founded Rune Magic that I already kind of talked about, and the nation of Thassalon. He then went on to designate the Rune Lords, who became archwizards in their own right. But Zin, up until the near the end of the Empire, Zin was always stronger than most of the Rune Lords who came after him. The only two that could ever really compete with him until the very end were um, Sorshan and Xandergul. But Zin they were still scared of him. Like even after they had become mythic characters, they were still terrified of the idea that he might come back someday. That's how strong Zin was. If he had existed as a mechanical threat after the concept of mythic had been introduced, I have no doubt that he would have been considered a mythic character.
And what was he a Rune Lord of?
He was not. He did not take up the title of Rune Lord.
Oh, okay.
He considered himself a universalist. He was the master of all seven schools.
Okay.
Um, whether or not he was truly a master is up for debate. Like whether or not he truly was as expert as any one of his pupils were in their specific school, it's unclear. He certainly wasn't after they had outlived him and studied more. But he considered himself the master of all. He didn't, he used, so I have the seven-pointed star that connects all of the lesser runes in my little thing. That was his symbol, the Sahedron. He used all magics except
Your Lord Zin.
I am. It was me the whole time. Mwahahaha.
Sorshin is your favorite rune lord, right?
Um, she's my favorite one that receives the spotlight. That doesn't necessarily mean she's my favorite if I were to account for like certain ones like, oh, this would be my favorite, but they have a paragraph about them. That paragraph is just so cool. You know,
Okay.
Sorshin is my favorite in terms of she's the most well written as a character and most
Okay.
interesting overall. But it's not, there's 42 of them and she has the most page space. Of course, yes, there are 42 of them, and she has the most page space. So like her and Xandergul are my two favorites, but it's because they lived the longest, you know.
Oh, I see.
So they
Okay.
lived the longest. They survived into the modern era. So of course they're kind of my favorites. Um, but then we have Nex, and Nex is considered historic, even though Nex may or may not be dead. So Nex and Geb, two arch wizards who founded nations that they named after themselves, Nex and
And
Geb.
Geb is definitely dead.
Well, Geb is definitely undead. He died at one point. Uh, he got better. Um, well, kind of. He's still depressed. He's not better. He's better, not good. Uh,
Yeah.
but Nex was kind of the like all-arounder style magician. He was good at he was really good with genies. He was really accomplished. He was a very accomplished like tactician, army leader.
He's
Uh,
totally an alienist.
I don't know what his whole deal is. He's got a lot going on. But Geb, meanwhile, was the necromancer, and they respected each other really like a lot. The kind of joke in the fandom is that they were boyfriends for a very long time, and then they had a really messy breakup because
That
they.
actually makes more sense to me than
I
they were
agree.
friends and then they were pissed off at each other for
I
centuries.
agree. I actually think I actually believe that fan theory, but the official version is that they could not, neither one of them could tolerate having an equal, and they had to prove themselves the better. And it escalated and escalated and escalated until they just went to war, and
I
decided
guess
to
I don't relate
kill
to
each other.
that pride being used to that extreme.
Yeah.
Whereas when people are in a relationship and then break up, there's extreme intensity in their
hmm
emotions.
it makes way more sense to me that this is a breakup. Uh,
Yeah.
but either way, the nations of Nex and Geb went to war, and this created the mana wastes because they kept throwing more and more horrible magic at each other, and eventually they irradiated an entire stretch of desert between their two nations that now separates them and keeps them from going to war. The war ended when Geb sent this magical fog that poisoned Nex's capital city of Quantium, and Nex was forced to flee into a little demi-plane that he had created for himself as like a safety bolt hole, a place that he could go to escape, and he never came back. And the assumption is that he died. Geb was at first very happy that he had finally won the war, and then he lost all meaning in his life because the thing that he had dedicated 800 years to, this massive war, was over, and he had nothing left.
And he lost his boyfriend.
He
See, that
lost his
makes more sense
boyfriend.
too with the depression.
Yep, I still, like I said, I think it was a breakup. But Geb then died, and he did not understand. It's implied that he killed himself. He dies, and he didn't realize. He's really upset with himself for this. He did not realize that he had accidentally died with like regret, and he became a ghost. And for a long time, he did not understand that he was a ghost, and he did not understand that he couldn't leave his palace. He had no memory of how he died or how he came back. Now it seems like he has come to terms with the fact that, oh, I'm a ghost and I can't leave my palace now. Crap. Um,
I kind of like that he was a necromancer and had no idea that he was going to become a ghost.
yeah.
I mean, that shows some real mortal blind spots there.
Yeah, and it's super in character for him too because have you read any of like his commentaries in the Book of the Dead?
Yes, but not many of them.
He is hilarious as an author. He's so arrogant. He's so sure that he knows everything, and like every other magical scholar out there is nothing compared to him. He considers Tarbafon just kind of this silly little upstart that's not worth like consider. It's like that's Tarbafon, the strongest guy. Like he's just the best. Like you can't discount him. And Gab is like, he's not me. But yeah, Nex may or may not come back. There's a lot of speculation out there that we are going to get a Nex Geb war adventure path. There's been a lot of narrative hints leading at that. Tensions have been escalating. The Flesh Forges of Nex, where he made his Flesh Forge soldiers, like those are working again. They haven't been since he died. And Geb has taken over rulership of his country directly again after Erasni escaped his clutches. So there's definitely the idea that Paizo might be setting up a war that we might be able to interact in. So hopefully we will get more information on them soon. That would be pretty cool.
I would like it if Nex were unchanged. When you create your own plane, you can define the traits of that plane,
Mm-hmm.
including time. You can
Mm-hmm.
have a flowing time plane where one day equals 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have been gone for like 6 hours.
Yep. I would prefer that as well. I think that would be really cool, and it would lead to some fun writing for both characters to see what has changed.
Hmm.
Then we have a lot of the ones that are still alive. I already mentioned Baba Yaga, the mother of witches. I have a whole video on her, but basically, she's from Earth, and she encountered a Norn who taught her a bunch of magic, and then she figured out the rest of magic on her own and came here and to a bunch of other planets. And yeah, she's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, Baba Yaga in Pathfinder is unbelievably cool. Her son is Rasputin. Um, in like actual Rasputin. He's a 14th level oracle that you fight in Reign of Winter. He's great. It's so cool. She's got the dancing hut and everything. She's great. Um, but yeah, she's really strong. She can cast. So she officially was an arcane caster back in the three school era. I'm guessing now she would be considered an occult caster, but it is official that she has divine spells. She has basically she has created versions of every single spell that she can cast. So she is not bound by traditional spell list.
Okay, I like that better because in her stories, there's definite primal casting.
Yeah, no, she can just do all of it. She
Okay.
figured out how to cast every single spell. That's how strong she is. I also already mentioned Ghost King Geb as kind of the counterpart to Nex. He is now a ghost. He's extraordinarily powerful. But then we have a few others. So Queen Sorshan is formerly the Rune Lord of Lust. She has given up the title of Rune Lord. She now rules over the nation of New Thassalon. I'm not going to get too much more into that because I don't want to spoil the new Revenge of the Rune Lords adventure path. But former Rune Lord of Lust, now considered kind of the premier arcane rune magic scholar on Galarian. Um, we also have Hao Jin, the Ruby Phoenix. There are not a ton of characters from Tian Sha or outside of the Inner Sea region. That's the area I know best. Hao Jin is the most famous of the magical scholars in Tian Sha. She is a sorcerer, which makes her quite a bit different from most of these other characters. But she is cool for a number of reasons, not the least of which is she created a demiplane in which she can collect entire land masses, called her tapestry. So she has like captured entire villages that would have been wiped out by natural disasters or war.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, she's awesome. She's super, but now she's figuring out, oh no, these people have been trapped in a demiplane for centuries, and like I don't know how to take care of them. So now she's having to try to put them back and like be a responsible. She's responsible for all
Oh,
these people because like she's put a bunch of cultures in there that don't interact with each other. Typically, they have no context for how they're supposed to deal with each other.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
it's a really good storyline. It's really cool.
Dude,
They
I
did a
could do
lot with
stuff with
her.
that.
What was that?
I said, dude, I could do stuff with that.
Oh yeah, they did a lot with her in PFS. So like a lot of Pathfinder Society scenarios actually take place. I think they take place in the tapestry, which is pretty cool. But then they also have done stuff with her in Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, obviously, and then back in 1E they had a module called Ruby Phoenix Tournament, which kind of touched on her a little bit too.
You know, I just realized that that's like Ravenloft, the domains of dread. The land masses pulled from different areas of the world.
Oh, you're right. I wasn't super familiar with Ravenloft, but those ring a bell. Yeah.
And so there's like different, completely different cultures and countries that are trying to interact, and they don't even speak the language of each other.
Hmm.
They might
Yeah.
learn like a common trade language, like with hand gestures or something.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's very similar then. Yeah. And then, of course, the king of the bad guys, Tar-Baphon, the Whispering Tyrant. He is the big bad for Pathfinder right now. There are characters who are stronger than he is, but they are very few and far between. I think I only know of one that has mechanical stats. But Tar-Baphon is the necromancer. He is the lich within the setting. If you've heard of characters like the Lich King or the Witch King of Angmar from Lord of the Rings, like Tar-Baphon is that. He is this super powerful necromancer, leads the Whispering Way, kind of. It's a cult of necromancers. No formal leadership, but nobody would ever refuse what he says because he could just kill you. So, and
And we
this is
covered the Whispering Way in detail in cults as well.
yes, we did them in cults. I also have a independent video on the Whispering Way that also got way out of hand. Surprise, surprise. Uh, but Tar-Baphon is awesome. He is by far the most accomplished necromancer in the setting. Nex is probably more academic, but Tar-Baphon is more, or excuse me, Geb is probably more academic. Tar-Baphon is more powerful, undoubtedly. But you'll never get those lessons out of him because one of the core tenets of the Whispering Way is that you do not write your stuff down. You only tell it to people via
I,
oral
I
tradition.
still think that's stupid.
Well, it's working for him, kind of.
But then it's hard to improve anything.
Yeah, but you do guarantee that you trust the people, at least to some extent, you know.
Wow, I would not work with that cult.
I wouldn't either. They suck.
I'd be like, you know what? I need to take notes because I'll forget. So I'm gonna write this shit down. And then later on, I'd be like, wait, last Thursday you told me this, and now you're saying this. Are you changing this on me? Are you
There's a
gaslighting me with spells?
there is a guy who tried to write stuff down by writing down the Necronomicon and then he lost it. And now he's like, I don't know what you're talking. I didn't write down the Necronomicon. That never happened. His
Why would
name
I
is
do that? That would be dumb.
That'd be dumb. You would all kill me if I did that. His name is Gayer. He was having a very bad day.
Kind of awesome.
And that is that. That is everything I have on magic in Pathfinder. Look at that. It wasn't 100 slides long.
Is it me or is her neck too long? Or
I think it's
torso?
fine.
Something is wrong there.
I think it's fine. I like this art. I think it's pretty good.
I like the magic and the floating things. I only have an issue with like from breasts to neck looks like way too much territory.
Her hand is kind of funky, but that might just be the distortion from the magic
Yeah, don't know, but could be.
because the other hand is fine. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so I want to touch on a couple of things that you and I talked about off camera before.
mhm.
Um, about I guess mainly I want to talk about because I already touched on how bards and druids seem like they should be merged with occultism and primal, both of them. Like
Mhm.
they should have options for both. Um, and I told you why, but also this is probably just what I would like. It's probably a very minority interest, but chaos magic in our world is a thing. Um, much like demonologists don't have a class, chaos magic doesn't fit in Pathfinder 2 either.
Mhm.
And I'd like to see both of those have some more support. Like
Yeah.
demons
And
have been studied for thousands of years,
mhm.
maybe tens of thousands of years. And chaos magic is fairly new, but it's fascinating because it encompasses and spreads over every type of magic.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
When you say demonology, would you consider that something, getting into the mechanics of the game, would that be something that would also kind of intersect with diabolism or daemonology within the system? Or is it
Yeah.
specific to what Pathfinder would deem a demon?
No, it would be either.
Yeah, fiends.
And right. In fact, some of what we consider demons would effectively be devils.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like the demon prince Stolas teaches you about alchemy,
Hmm.
and you make a contract with him. He teaches you alchemy. It's technically a demon in our world, but yeah, that'd be a
But that's a
devil
devil.
basically.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
would just like to see some more support for that, for summoning other entities and having them do tasks for you or teaching you things. Like a, I know we already have a quote summoner, but some other kind of summoner, like a demon summoner, would be cool to me. Or a chaos mage that can dip into different pools of magic either throughout the day or can change every day. Because the premise behind chaos magic is that all energy is the same and that I can choose to use any tool to represent any kind of magic because I understand that reality isn't what other people think it is, that energy is energy. And like Neo, I can break the matrix and use any of it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because the the fiend summoning I could definitely see being explored. So we've got two new APs coming out this year relating to Cheliax, the Empire of Devils. And I could definitely see something like what you're describing around demonology, or in this case, diabolism, being
Yeah.
really interesting to explore mechanically, at
Hmm.
least for the villains in those APs, because we already know that we're playing the traditional good guys against
Yeah.
the Empire of Cheliax. But there is precedent for creating archetypes for villains. In like Outlaws of Alkenstar, uh, they have the Clockwork Reanimator, which represents a bad guy. It's not something the players
Oh,
necessarily have
yeah.
access to, but it's there. So it could be interesting to see some kind of fiendish bargains or something, because they've toyed with ideas like that in the past. I don't remember where, but there was a source book that like referred to like bargains that you could make with devils. Like maybe
Yeah,
they
there are
may,
contracts.
yeah, maybe there are things we could do mechanically in the future that would explore something like that. Chaos magic is definitely the way I would see that being implemented would be like you'd have to do something from just based on my understanding, based on what you've described. You'd have to do something like an archetype that could apply to all spellcasting traditions, and like
Oh, okay,
spellcasters
yeah.
of any type. Kind
Yeah.
of like how like elementalism can be primal, or any primal or occult, or excuse me, primal or arcane caster. You would almost
Yeah.
have to do chaos magic like that, but it for everybody.
Okay, I could see that. Then you could
Mhm.
gain powers that are basically meta magics.
Yeah, yeah, new spell shapes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Spell
generally
shapes,
think
thank
we
you.
need more spell shapes. I think we need a spell shaping archetype that can just tack on to anybody, because I think spell shapes are cool and they're an unexplored
That would
space.
work for chaos magic. I probably
Hmm.
wouldn't call it chaos magic because people think they hear that word, that phrase, and they think, well, it has to be chaotic and uncontrollable, but that's
Hmm.
not what it
Or
means.
have
So I'd probably
randomness
just,
thrown in. Yeah.
oh yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
Could have some luck effects.
Yeah, random number generation, stuff like that.
In second edition D&D, yeah, there was wild magic that was essentially that. It was
Hmm.
chaos magic. You could access anything. There was one spell called Nahal's Reckless Dweomer. It was first level, and every time you cast it, you choose to cast another spell that you know. It,
Hmm.
and you also trigger a wild surge.
Oh, nice. Hmm.
So no matter what you wanted to cast, you just memorize all Nahal's Reckless Dweomer.
Hmm.
So you so you can have a chance of like making a safe fall on your enemies, and I cast a fireball.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, nice. You get to be a wild magic sorcerer. I like it.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I don't know of another way I would do chaos magic other than like an archetype that can apply to, for
It
instance,
makes
full
the most
casters.
sense.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that I would necessarily make it apply to bounded casters. I think it would depend on the effects.
Yeah, okay. But it
Only
would work
because
with spell
bounded
shapes.
casters are intended to be so much more limited, you know.
Yeah, I was just thinking of chaos rituals. That you have a
Whew,
lot of
that now
freedom
you're
with.
opening a can of worms.
But I want to see more about fiend summoning and
Hmm.
fiend control. And in our world, at least, I understand that there's a lot of no, no, don't do that to summoning demons and fiends. But the people that believed that it was possible, they didn't necessarily do anything else that was harmful. They just summoned fiends or spiritual eidolons of devils to learn from them.
Hmm.
So it was a tool. It wasn't, I'm going to sell my soul so you let me kill people. I mean,
Hmm.
that's movies. Sure, that's a good plot mechanic, but that's not how demonology in our world really worked.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see that being ground for them to explore in the future. Thinking more along the lines of mechanics that I want. I really want another primal caster. Like we have the druid,
Yeah,
which is
besides
great,
druid.
and we have the kineticist, which is like it's not a caster, but it feels like a caster.
And it
Um,
feels very naturey.
it feels very naturey. I just think I would like something more. You know, we also need like another dedicated arcane caster because like divine we have a lot, or we have well, okay, we have three, which is, I'm pretty happy with. That's pretty good. Occult we have two or three. Primal we have one and kineticist, and arcane we have one and magus. You know, like magus doesn't really count. You know, I would like to see another dedicated arcane caster that's not just a wizard.
Yeah,
Um,
Magus is basically I cast damage into my weapon.
yeah, yeah, and it's like it's good. I'm glad it exists, but I would like another dedicated arcane caster that does something different than what a wizard can do. I just don't know what the mechanical space for that is yet. I have trouble conceptualizing it in a way that is not, oh, I'm just, you know, it's like, oh, well, that's just a wizard or a sorcerer or a witch. Or a summoner or a magus, like that fills a lot of spots, but I would really like to see one more dedicated arcane full caster that does something different. I don't
I
know
th-
what that different is, but I would like to see something. I think it'd be fun.
I think because they've made so many subclass, so many schools of wizard, it's going to be
Mhm.
hard to do
It's gonna
that.
be hard. Yeah, that's gonna be really hard. I mean, the war mage archetype for the wizard does help because it allows you
Oh,
to
yeah.
play a wizard very differently, which is nice. I just don't know what the studied arcane character would be. I guess the new runesmith is kind of like that. It's like, what if a wizard wasn't a wizard?
Yeah,
But
but it's not the same. It's like
mhm.
saying kineticist is a druid.
Yeah, yeah. So I would also like to see another primal caster. There's a lot of, rumblings out there of like we want a bounded caster that's the old shifter. Like I would love to see the shifter. I think it'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm honestly a little disappointed in the new playtest only because it's like it's two more marshals that they're
I know, me
fine.
too. A
Like I
couple
love
people were
marshals. I think PF2E does marshals better than any other
That's true. I
major
agree.
major system that I've played.
Yeah.
Um, but I would like to see more. I would like to see them explore the space of casters a little more, especially because the Animist was really good. The last time they did a caster, it was pretty cool. So
And complex. That was neat.
yeah, yeah. Like I like the two times they've done something new with casters recently was the Animist, which was awesome, and the Kineticist, which again, it's not a full caster, but it feels like a caster, and
It
it's
was sort of
awesome.
it was sort of opposite extremes. Like the
Hmm.
kineticist is really simple in that you get this one power, you can use
Hmm.
it as much as you want. And the
Hmm.
animist was complex as all hell, and you can change who you are from hour to hour during your day.
Yeah, and it's great. Like I love that you can do that. It's got a ton of great flavor. I think they can keep adding fun new apparitions to make it feel fresh and new every time, like over
True.
time, like they could have a lot of fun with it. But
True.
uh, yeah, overall, I'd like to see those spaces filled in a little bit. This is going to sound silly. I would love to see a dedicated wisdom-based caster that's not primal or primal or divine, but I get why. It's because of life it's because of life. Like that thing makes you wisdom based. But I would like that essence is really good for wisdom based characters. But I would really like to see a wisdom based character that's maybe not arcane because that sounds weird, but like a wisdom based occult caster could be a lot of
I
fun.
could see that with occult because
Hmm.
wisdom can be awareness and occultism can be awareness.
Hmm.
I mean, that could be a perfect fit if they figure out a lot of details to add to it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've seen one of the Pathfinder Infinite things I've seen is a wisdom-based subclass or subconscious mind for the psychic, and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm honestly shocked that that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm shocked that there's not more options within each class to diverge from the base class in a variety of ways, like Bard becoming primal or Druid becoming occult.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's room there for sure. But I also think that to some extent I get it, specifically because the archetype system does exist and it's really easy to turn a druid into some occult stuff. Like give a druid some occult kit by throwing on like the bard archetype or a similar archetype. Like
Yeah.
there's ways around it that I think are totally reasonable. But not having a single wisdom-based occult class sounds it just feels weird to me.
Yeah, and I would like another class that's based on con somehow.
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I'd be open to that. I mean, I'd be open to that. I'd be open to just more arcane classes in general. Only having two I find kind of irritating, but at the same time, all the flexible classes are great for coverage. So, you got witch, sorcerer, and summoner out there who do a ton of legwork to give every tradition a lot of extra flavor really easily. And that's one of the strengths of the system. I love that I could play a party of four witches and all of them are different.
Uh-huh. Incredibly different.
Or a party
But
of four summoners. It's like, no, we have eight bodies on the field, and we've got a dragon, a construct, an angel, and a giant monster, or like a giant
dude,
bear.
that is great for battlefield control.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just put
And
all of
they
your
all have
eidolons in
different
the
spell
way.
lists, so they all do different stuff.
That's neat. Yeah.
hmm Summoner one would be cool. I mean, obviously the best example is the kineticist because you have a party of four kineticists. It's like, no, 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 we have a dedicated healer, we have a dedicated tank, we have a dedicated DPS. Like, yeah, it's really well handled.
A friend of mine made a kineticist for this game that we're starting this week, and he said that he is an off tank or range damage, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then he said, wait, I switched things. Now I'm only utility. I don't do those other two things. I'm like, okay. He's still a kineticist.
Yep. Yep. I'm like, oh, you switched from fire, earth to air. You're a completely different character now.
Right. And they feel very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you about the two new classes that were teased. I I just don't really care much about marshals because what are they going to do different? I hit things a little differently now.
Yeah, and I do care about marshals because I tend to be more of a martial player,
Hmm.
but I do think for me I would prefer it if every playtest was a marshal and a caster. I think that would be more fun.
I think there'd
But
be more for everyone to be happy about.
but I also know that they have to fit these into book releases. You know, like
Oh, right.
it,
So they
it
have to
has
fit
to
a
go into
theme.
like the impossible magic. They had to be magic related, even if the marshal is like even if the runesmith is a marshal, it is still doing magic. It's just not doing it in the caster sense. Like before that we had to do like secrets of magic. It's like yeah, they both have to be casters of some kind. So like I do get it, but historically we've been able to kind of balance it a little bit. This one is just like, ooh, two marshals. There's going to be a lot of players who aren't going to get any value out of that. So,
Yeah, there are. And if one of those marshals does something that another class does most of, then a lot fewer people are going to get something out of it.
hmm yeah, I'm like I said, I don't, I know that in general, I think Paizo's class design has been getting a lot better over the years. I think they're getting stronger, not mechanically stronger, like thematically,
Right.
playability stronger. So I don't doubt that whatever's coming up next is going to be fun and cool. But I just personal preference, I would like to see a marshal and a caster. But I haven't play tested them yet. Who knows? Maybe I will play test them and I'll be like, "Oh, this is awesome." So I'm prepared to eat my words, and I hope that I am wrong.
We'll see.
hmm
Another thing to remember is that there's still Starfinder out there, and we can add stuff from Starfinder into Pathfinder
Absolutely.
too.
Yep.
Like even if
Starfinder's
it's
casters are very, very cool.
sure, and the ancestries too.
Yep.
I love the Astrozoan. I can't talk enough about them. They're cool.
They're pretty cool. Honestly, almost everything in Starfinder is pretty cool.
Yeah, like flying and telepathy being so common.
It's pretty great. I love my
It's
soldier, or my, is it, yeah, soldier, my con-based marshal. Makes me happy.
and it actually made sense to make that one con based.
Yeah, totally made sense.
I like that. They could do that more in Pathfinder, not just Starfinder. But I guess we're done. We should probably sign
Yeah,
off
we're not
instead of
talking about magic
talking for
anymore. So
more.
we should wrap this
Well, we
one up. Well,
totally could talk a lot longer.
yeah, as proven by our previous video. But thank you all for joining us for this discussion of magic in Pathfinder. This was pretty exciting. I know that impossible magic is going to probably render a lot of this moot, but that's cool because then we get to make another video.
Yeah, and talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you all. I have been Phil from Podfinder.
He still is.
I still am, but I have been. Mhm.
I'm Jake from Wisdom Check. I appreciate y'all being here, and I love the opportunity to talk about stuff that I know about and love. So thank you, Phil, for being here with me.
May there be many more of these in the future. All right. Have a
And
good night, everybody.